You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. It is WrestleMania weekend, and we have a show for you. It's a little bit different than normal because we're actually going to do a preview probably on Sunday of night 2 of WrestleMania, but obviously this doesn't matter because it will be out. But we are, it's funny, plugging something that is going to be old before it gets in there. So if you're listening to this now, go back and check out the feed. That's why you should be subscribed to our show over on Nerd to Know Media and the WrestlingRewind.com.
Well, it kind of makes sense. We are old school wrestling. We do. So
This is true.
it's good that we're a week behind.
Yeah, I think it's better to be a week behind because at least you have time to let stuff settle.
Yeah,
but
assess the situation.
Exactly. But yeah, of course, WrestleMania weekend is this weekend. We're recording on the Friday as we normally do. Gonna try go live again soon. But all that being said, this year's WrestleMania, we'll get to that on the live show. I don't know. I'm there's nothing I have interest in it. But so we're gonna keep that. We're gonna shelve it. But we're going to take a look back as we do on the show because we have WrestleMania 15 to get to, which we've obviously been building to for quite some time. So we're going to do that in the second half of the show. But before then, Martin, you came up with a great idea. Genuinely did. And it is, of course, a look back at 3 of the best and 3 of the worst, or our own picks from WrestleMania history. So first, as I said, my name is Darrow O'Connor. You can follow me at Dara WV on Twitter. Nerd to Know Media is the show, and of course we have the one and only, the one and the undefeated. You love him, Mr. Martin Hardy.
I don't deserve any accolades, Dara. I went to a wrestling quiz last night in Belfast and came second last, so I'm not accepting any accolades this week.
Oh, that's fair. It's the shame bell. Is that what it is? Shame.
Well, and shame. Do you know what?
Shame.
Yeah, at least you got like a kind of a funny prize for coming dead last.
Oh, so you didn't get anything.
So we didn't get anything. But it was a great night. Some of the team names were particularly creative. They might not all be for public consumption on the radio, but I think one of my favorite ones that I think is safe enough is my ma can't wrestle, but you should see her box.
Oh, well, okay. There you go. That's just on the line, Martin. It's a good thing we're like past.
I think we could defend that in court. I think
so.
I think we could stand over that.
I think so. I think so. Anyway, yeah. So you represented the team. You still did it, even if you didn't win. And here's the thing: a place or come dead last. I think that should be your team name. We wanted to come last.
Well, I tell you what, there was a pretty interesting conversation a couple of the lads had last night. Was one of the questions was around who's the only person or the first person to win the Royal Rumble from number 2. And then we got talking about how the people who win it from number 2, like they never get the accolades that people who win it from number 1 do, even though it's the exact same. But then we were saying, actually, number 2 would be even harder because number 1's out first. So whenever number 2 comes into the ring, number 1 can jump them.
Yeah.
So it's actually number 2 is the most impressive to win it from. But anyway, I digress. This is Mania, not Rumble season.
No, this is Mania. Exactly. Again, look, we'll cover it on Sunday. I have no I just have no interest because I know what's going to happen. That person is going to win, and I'm going to be upset. And
I mean, look, never ever underestimate WWE's capacity for booking themselves into a problem. So, like he might not.
I really hope so. I'm praying to everybody, every pantheon in the world for a fake sport to change.
I'm not quite the Stardust hater that you are.
Hold on. If Stardust was going for the belt, I'd be over there.
Well, I'm not quite the American Nightmare hater that you are. I quite like him.
We were talking about the horrendous tattoo in Taekwondo the other day. It's the worst. Even people who don't watch wrestling know of that tattoo.
Do you know what it is?
How bad it is.
It's just so awkwardly placed. If it was on his neck, fine. But it's in such a weird position. It's kind of half his neck, half his head.
You know what's like? Do you remember in the old creator wrestler when you'd have to pull it down and it didn't quite sit? That's what it looks like. It looks like he's a bad creator wrestler from like Warzone or Attitude Era or Attitude.
Well, I'm not quite the Cody hater you are, but I have to say, if he doesn't win, I will be I think it'll be hilarious because I have no idea what they're going to do next. Like, if he doesn't win this,
CM Punk. Because I think AEW, because we actually did we talk about that? His meltdown on Instagram where he dropped a pipe bomb on Instagram?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we covered it, but
I don't think we covered it, but we're going to, what do you think about it? So, go on. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it went it's literally in a period of 24 hours. The news went from, oh my God, Punk is talking about coming back. People are reading into stuff that Dax Harwood was saying, and reports that Punk had, was missing wrestling and blah, blah, blah. And all the news was Punk's coming back. And then the next thing, he goes on Instagram and he writes, I hate everybody. Even like the people you think are pretty cool. Like I can get
Jericho
and falling out with, people not liking Jericho, not liking the Bucks, whatever. But he ripped into like John Moxley.
It's literally like when Ned Flanders goes on the rant and he's like, I don't know who you are, but I'm sure you're a jerk. or Sideshow Bob, especially Bart, but especially Lisa,
especially Jericho, but especially Moxley.
Oh my God, he's the most entertaining man in the world. Like,
but here's the thing again, and I have been wrong about this before. I was wrong about it with Cody, but the news was all rumor that Punk's coming back, and then Punk goes on Instagram and buries the whole place. My work bell is it's
fair.
ringing away in the background. Probably wrong, but with wrestling, I think the inclination is to slightly suspect that everything's a work.
How cool would it be though if Cody wins, right, and then Punk just walks out? I mean, if I was WWE now, I'd fly over to Punk's house and be like, "Here's a dump truck full of money. Just show up."
He can't. He's still.
He can still show up. He might get sued into oblivion, but still, like he can do it. It's just he
could physically do it.
He could physically do it. If I was WWE now, I'd be like, we don't care what the legal fees are. Here's all the money. Just do it. Like it would break the internet. Genuinely.
I have to say, I think there's a 0% chance. Like, not only would he get sued, but WWE there's a whole legal thing about poaching people who are like, you're not even allowed to talk to someone while they're under contract.
Oh, I know, but I would still do it. It's like, it's like, lads, gear up, here we go. But no, look, I think it's funny. The memes were hilarious. Somebody made a Star Wars crawl out of his little story.
Oh,
it was wonderful. I mean, here's the thing, like Punk or not, and here's the thing, I'm actually, I was a big CM Punk fan, and he still does have, like, it says something that when someone's Instagram story is mesmerizing, you're like, okay, you have a lot of skill. But he manages to keep himself so relevant just by,
But people are fascinated because even when he says nothing, people are nearly even more fascinated when he says nothing. They're like,
yeah,
oh my God, we haven't heard from Punk for 7 years.
What does it mean? Yeah, sure. I remember those. People wanted him back, and look,
I'm really torn. I loved his run. I thought his matches were amazing. I thought his promos were incredible. But I think there's no doubt that he's clearly a very strong-willed person.
I love how political you are. There are other words I would use, but we have to be careful because we're on the radio.
Yeah, I mean, I get the impression that he would be difficult to deal with.
It begins with a P, ends with a K.
Yeah. He is a plank.
He is a plank, exactly.
No, I get the impression he would be very difficult to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
And he would be.
Do you think he's worked? Do you think he's worked himself into like his own reality, like what Hogan did?
I mean, yeah, he's kind of. If he doesn't go back to AEW, he's done. Because I don't.
Well, he could Impact.
I don't even see. Firstly, I don't see Impact affording him.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, you get thrown out of or kicked out of or leave one company. That's one thing, but that's two major companies now. He's absolutely
and UFC.
And you like at some point you have to say, am I the problem?
No, it's the kids who are wrong.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. I'm Punk.
Oh yeah, so funny. I love it, guys. Someone make that. That'd be wonderful. Okay, we covered it. We had to do it because I mean the fact that we didn't. It was just too funny to not cover. Genuinely, I mean, I'm just so entertained by the whole thing. It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. And there's some more stuff we have to cover, like stories around WrestleMania, but we'll say for the preview. We'll
do it on Sunday. Yeah, we'll do it on the again, guys. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh, what are they talking about? Go over. There's like there's a lot of shows over there, 180 shows or something, over for free, over in Nerd to Know Media and the True Penny Channel and the Wrestling Rewind. We're not hard to find. The WrestlingRewind.com is where you can find everything. There's a link tree with all the links. You click them and that's it, and it's all free, except the Patreon, because we need our X-Pac Euros.
Give us that X-Pac Euro.
Exactly. Speaking of X-Pac, he will be a major feature of WrestleMania 15. So stay tuned.
He will. And I was listening out for his entrance music when it came out, and it's happened. My brain has been rewired, and now whenever he comes out, I hear make some noise.
Oh, wonderful! It's just wonderful. I mean, the fact that we know that now, his promos make way more sense. He says "make some noise" an awful lot, and I just thought he was having like a fit or something. But no, I mean that's his catchphrase. It makes all the sense in the world. Still can't get over him wearing the Road Dogg shirt. I mean, wrestlers should wear their own shirts. Just putting it out there.
Yeah,
it's like the opposite of being in a band.
The opposite of being in a band, yeah. Isn't it like super cringe to wear your own shirt in a band?
If you're in the band. So if you're playing wearing your own merch, that's weird. But if you're playing, for example, if I was to play in one of my other bands wearing one of my band's shirts, that would be okay. But if I was to wear it while playing, that would be kind of cringe.
Yeah. Whereas it is utterly bizarre to see a wrestler wearing someone else's, even if they're in the same stable, you know.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, like it's the opposite because you're supposed to the etiquette is you're supposed to wear your friend's band's shirt.
Yeah.
And represent. That's the etiquette. Like, so it's an opposite. It's opposite in WWE and wrestling because you have to put yourself over and screw everybody else.
Yeah.
Apparently. Right. So Martin, speaking of screwing everybody else,
yes,
the worst WrestleMania matches of all time, where we got screwed out of time and money and effort. It's funny because I feel like this is nearly two lists.
Yeah,
because the last 20 years have had a lot of grotesque duds. Let's just put it that way, right? Like, absolutely. Like, there is a period of WrestleManias, mainly in the 30s, where it's just cack, right? Terrible. And then there's some that's really good. I want to remove the COVID WrestleMania. I don't think that's
fair. Yeah,
I don't think that's fair. I mean, I genuinely really liked the last ride match, and I genuinely really like, or the Boneyard match. So stupid. The name is terrible, but I really like that one, and I really like the Firefly Funhouse match and everything that happened in the arena. I mean, what did you want them to do? It was that or nothing. So it's like,
yeah, no, I think that's a fair stipulation to put in it.
So I want to remove that one, but I mean there are some terrible ones. To be
honest, even if we kept those in, I don't know that any of them would make the list. Some of the stuff they've done has been much more egregious.
No, but that's the thing. Like, there is that list, right? And it's like, oh, that was just kind of boring or dull. But then you go before that. Some of it's just terrible. So I mean, I'm going to start the list off. I don't want.
I'll tell you what. Before we kick off,
go on.
So we're going to do
3 each.
3 each of our favorite and 3 each of our least favorite. But me and Dara have not discussed this. For all we know,
you could have the same list.
This will take 2 minutes.
Yeah,
the exact same list.
We genuinely don't know.
Yeah, so this will be interesting.
Okay, so I tell you what, Martin, I'm gonna let you do it. Let's go with the worst and then the best. So what's number one on your list of bad? Not in number one, the first one you have for bad.
Okay, so will we build them up like third, second, and then the absolute worst?
It's up to you. I don't mind.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm worried we're going to run out of time, and I want to talk about this one. So I'm going to start off with my absolute worst.
Go on.
Was Triple H, Booker T.
How dare you?
This whole
How dare you?
Racism, thinly veiled racism storyline.
I mean, I agree with you, but I'm also like, I'm not going to say bad words about Triple H.
But to be honest, so the story is that there's this whole thinly veiled racist storyline around Triple H and Booker T. So Triple H never actually says any racial slurs or anything, but his whole thing is like, he doesn't. People like you could never be champion. It's all sort of intonation and winking, but that's fine.
It comes off as one of the worst. Like, it comes off terrible, but there was nothing really behind it. But it comes off the worst possible, and that's even near the worst almost.
I have no issue with that. Some people give out about the storyline itself. I don't think there's any problem with the storyline if the babyface wins in the end. But what they had was Triple H was this terrible, thinly veiled racist heel the whole way through it, and then Booker T gets to the main event of WrestleMania, 1-on-1 for the title, and not only loses, but is buried with a pedigree. So Triple H hits him with a pedigree and then waits 23 seconds before he even tries to pin him, and then pins him. And the word burial gets way, way overused nowadays, but this was a goddamn burial.
I mean, I cheered. He's my favorite wrestler. What can I say? I mean, it could be anyone.
Dara watches Star Wars and cheers for the Empire.
I literally have a TIE Fighter beside me. Kind of, yeah. The Empire's really cool. Come on, they have like TIE Fighters and Death Stars and etc.
Well, I thought like not only the fact that he lost, which was egregious on its own, but the 23, like that had to be deliberate.
No, I mean, look, I think the biggest, and actually, funny you mention it, because you know the way we said that like a lot of past WrestleManias in the past couple of years, let's say 10 years, have been very dull. It's because they book it that way. They're like, oh, we have the storyline with the plucky babyface, and then what do they do? They just lose. And it's like, but what was the point of everything beforehand? It makes no sense. So yeah, no, it's the worst possible way to book someone. I mean, what should have happened there, Booker T should have won. Like, I would have been upset because, you know, I want Triple H to always have the belts. But from a storyline perspective, it's like, you have to give the people something to cheer. Like, what are you doing? But of course, this was during the Reign of Terror. Even
if you're going to do that, then have him hit him with the sledgehammer. Have him cheat. Don't have him hit him clean with a pedigree and then wait half a minute before he pins him.
I mean, the pedigree, you don't kick out that, man.
Well,
it's the game.
So the whole trope is that, like, you know, you can hit someone with your finisher, but then you're too exhausted to make the pin straight away.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you get a kick out. But yeah, this one I've never been able to understand this one. I've never heard anyone explain it. Like,
there's no explaining. There's no explaining it. It's just terrible.
It's just
It's just terrible. It's a terrible decision. And the match itself, I'll be honest with you, Booker T is actually great. Like, we watched Booker T in WCW.
Oh yeah,
you know, and
we watched some pay-per-views where he was the only watchable thing on it.
Oh yeah, so I mean, like, and he should have. This was in 2003, so it was like 2 years away. 2 years removed from WCW going down, so he was in his prime, and he would have, like, Booker T would eventually reach the pinnacle and you know, do the whole King Booker thing, which was bad in and of itself, but that's neither here nor there. I do think this was just terrible. I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of subtext and context and all that kind of stuff. Taking all that out, that's bad in and of itself. But then again, like, Triple H being like a super heel, okay, fair enough, right? It's wrestling.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's only bad if the babyface doesn't win in the end.
Exactly. It's like, if you're going to go that far, fine, have the good guy win.
Yeah, exactly.
It just
like,
makes sense, you know.
Let the heel say all the time. Like, I'm all for letting heels be heels. You know, people get all upset that they weren't politically correct. I'm like, yeah, he's a goddamn heel.
He's doing his job. You're supposed to hate him.
He's a bad guy. But he has to receive his comeuppance in the end for there to be like a satisfying conclusion to it.
Now, what I will say on the Reign of Terror, and you know, Triple H did receive his comeuppance. He made Batista and Randy Orton. So I mean, it took 2 years, but I will defend that and go, you know what? We got Batista.
And in perhaps the greatest defeat of his career, Batista went on to be a movie star. Not Triple H.
I don't know, man. I really like Blade Trinity. He does the pedigree. It's great.
Oh, and that's a hell of a you goddamn thunder.
Triple H can do no wrong. Sorry. Come on. It's not fair. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Can I just say, I was going to put in the Hell in a Cell match, but we're going to talk about that, so there's no real point. But it is up there. It is up there.
I might have a wee controversial view on that for you later.
That's fair. But no, a serious edition here would be genuine. Like, it's kind of hard because I really want to say Hulk Hogan, like, politicking his way in and screwing Bret Hart.
It's okay.
You know, but I mean, that whole era was bad. But yeah, I think it's a toss up between that and Kane just coming in and like wrestling Chavo Guerrero in 15 seconds of walking out. I mean, that was the most disappointing thing ever. It was like, okay, this is a weird match, but yeah. So this was WrestleMania 24, I want to say, and so ECW title match, which they've established as, you know, not being great, but still could be a decent match. Kane comes out and chokeslams Chavo Guerrero in like 15 seconds, and that's it. So, and there was no reason for it. It just happened. So that's up there from a match perspective, and I think it's tied with Hogan coming out and going, "Oh, sure, I can win." You know,
the Hogan at Mania 9 thing is
it's terrible.
It's so one bad. Of my. I actually have it down here as well.
Lead with that one then. Go on. Why is it so egregious for you?
Well, firstly, because I'm just a massive Bret Hart fan. But secondly, like, even if you take out like my personal view on it, Hogan was done. The Hulkamania era had reached its peak and was very much in the descendancy now. Like, wrestlers like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels were like, that's who the fans wanted to see. There was or at least that's who the younger fans, you know, the up and coming generation wanted to see. And there was a perfect opportunity here to sort of pass the torch there. And so not only did Bret, so what happened was Bret had a match at Yokozuna. Yokozuna cheats and wins. And then Hulk Hogan comes out and goes, "Oh, I'm not going to stand for this, brother. I'll wrestle you." I'm going to stand up for Bret I'll win the title.
By stealing the title away.
But like,
oh my God. So
like, at a time when the company was in real trouble, Bret was their stalwart.
Yeah.
Hugely popular internationally, always counted on to have the best match in the card. Not only was it disappointing because his match with Yokozuna went short, because Yokozuna got gassed 5 minutes in and went to the finish. But then Hogan came out beat Yokozuna and won the title. But the whole point behind that was, again, that he was supposed to then drop it to Bret, like a kind of a passing of the torch.
Yeah.
And obviously Hogan being Hogan just decided no. And he only showed up on WWF television one more time. So he won the title, and then the next time he showed up on TV was to drop the title.
What
Just
can you say?
everything about it.
From there, it's so bad. It's so bad. You know, it's pretty much like I wanted to put in all of John Cena's title wins for like 10 years. Our defenses, because I mean that just ruined wrestling. It was like being battered over the head every time WrestleMania showed up, to the point that I couldn't watch it. Just like, please stop winning. None of it's good. It's all terrible. I will watch John Cena as a movie star. As a wrestler, I can never forgive it.
It's just great as a movie. Like, he's
brilliant as a movie star. Yeah,
make fun of himself, and
yeah, it's great.
I think I have kind of the same thing down, but for Roman Reigns.
No, that's fair. I'll give you that. I mean, at least Roman Reigns has a character. And
now, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, but you always, like, the thing about the John Cena, he never had a character. It was like, he's a rapper, but he's also a Marine, but not really a Marine. I don't understand. Well, at least with Roman Reigns, it's like, okay, you're Shield man going out on his own to prove you're the big dog, kind of like the Undertaker, big evil. And now you're like a tribal chief. That makes sense. There's some growth. We're seeing it as like, he wins. Okay. So what's the point of watching this? You know? So no, that's fair. But I have to mention something that never gets brought up, and it probably should. The streak wasn't always good. And I mean, we're going to touch on it when we're looking at WrestleMania 15. Or we might actually disagree on that. But I'm specifically calling out in not any specific order, but the match with Giant Gonzalez.
Oh my god,
terrible. The match with King Kong Bundy, terrible.
Yeah.
The match with Psycho Sid, terrible. The match and then the worst one on this list, which is saying something, A-Train and the Big Show in a 2-on-1 handicap match, because the story around that's wild and it's worth looking into in and of itself. But I have to put the bad side of the streak in there because it gets forgotten. And when I go back and watch the Undertaker's matches, I'm like, what the hell is this? This is terrible. So
like we have sort of established over the past few weeks that the Undertaker is amazing in video packages.
Oh, he's the best. He's the best in video packages.
Actually watching some of this.
I mean, I would, anyone who like badmouths Bray Wyatt, please go back and watch The Undertaker Week. I beg you to watch The Undertaker Week. It's the same thing. They just gave him a lot of leeway and he had much better editors. I mean, they're the same guy. Now, what's interesting is when Taker came back after the injury about 2001, that's when he started cooking and really got good. But up until then, he was like, oh yeah, he might have a good match. Probably won't though. But it'll look great.
Like, I would say of the streak, so it was 21 matches before he lost. I'd say half of them are terrible.
No, like legitimately, they're real bad. Actually, in a lot of ways, the Psycho Sid match, the one where he won the belt, that's a god awful match. That's one of the worst matches you can watch.
Oh yeah,
genuinely,
horrendous.
And it skips all the lists because we all love the Undertaker, but it's like, no, you love the video package. That's what you love. And then when he came back, you
have the video package. You love the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And what you remember are the moments.
Yeah.
You don't remember.
No.
all the stuff in between.
Exactly. You don't remember the bell-to-bell stuff. But okay, we have one more each. Go on.
For worst.
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to go with Sting. The way they used Sting.
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you, but still, it hurts.
Oh, I love him to bits.
Yeah, me too.
But the way they used him was an unbelievably egregious waste of a talent in, and like Sting's still incredible now, like for his age and for what he does. But in what was the last of his prime, like the last couple of years when he genuinely could have gone, man, just an absolute waste of talent. They brought Sting in, and all anybody wanted to see was Sting versus The Undertaker.
That's it. That's all anybody ever wanted. Yeah.
We don't even care about a storyline. Just have Sting show up one day and challenge him. Don't care. We just want Sting versus The Undertaker. And instead, they had The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt, and they had Sting just rehash the whole Monday Night Wars again 20 years later with Triple H. And the worst part was it didn't even make sense then. They had the NWO coming out to help Sting.
It made
the
no
whole
sense.
thing was that Sting was their mortal enemy. Like,
yeah, it was so stupid.
Everything about it just...
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with you. It just sucks because I'm like, that's Sting's only WrestleMania appearance as well.
Oh.
So it just makes it so much worse. Yeah, no, you're spot on. Like it again, I don't know what they were thinking. You know what? Actually, I wouldn't be shocked if they were like, we'll do it next year. Sting isn't a big enough star yet. Let's make him a star. And I think what they were planning, I genuinely think they were planning to do this. Put the belt on him. Or, because his next match was a title match. So they were giving him matches to build up his character, and he probably would have done it a year later. And I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case.
They really do have this thing where you could be the biggest star in the world, but if you're not a star in WWE, they don't consider you to be...
I mean, look at AJ Styles.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Finn Balor. You really... the only one who gets away with it is if you're an MMA person, like Ronda Rousey.
Oh, they fall over themselves for celebrities who aren't wrestlers. They just... Like, they can't get enough of that.
Yeah.
But if you're, like, the biggest wrestler in the world, but you're not a WWE wrestler, they don't consider you to be anybody. Like, they'd bring Kenny Omega in and rename him, repackage him, and stick him on NXT.
Well, no, I think now after Cody, I think they'd probably be a bit more cautious with it because they want, there's people they want, but when time's gone by, absolutely, yeah, they were going to. But here, I have to talk about this real quick, right? So WrestleMania 2000, in general, no, that's a bit harsh, but no, that was a very disappointing WrestleMania. And it's
WrestleMania 2000, the one where there isn't a singles match on it.
That's exactly why it's in the list. Yeah, that's why it's the worst. Because I mean, while I like parts of it, I love the hardcore battle royale. I think that's so fun. The first TLC match, it has a phenomenal 2L3 falls European Intercontinental title with Jericho, Benoit, and Kurt Angle. It's actually incredible, right? It's so good if you haven't seen it. However, it doesn't feel like WrestleMania. And the reason why it doesn't feel like WrestleMania is because it doesn't have that one-on-one. The main event is Triple H, The Rock, Mick Foley, and The Big Show in one of the worst, blandest WrestleMania matches of all time.
And it's not even about them. It's about
the McMahons. It's about the McMahons. It just doesn't feel like a WrestleMania. It feels like a total dud. WrestleMania 15 is pretty close actually as well. It has moments.
Just about to say that is what 15 felt like to me.
Yeah, no, they did it. They made pretty much the same mistakes 2 years in a row, but it's worse because 2000 is probably one of the best years of wrestling, barring WrestleMania.
And a great build, like all the stuff with
incredible build,
zombie Linda and everything. That's class,
That's 2001.
Oh, was that the year after?
Yeah.
But it's Linda comes out with she introduces Mick Foley back into it. Yeah, so Mick's retirement and everything. The build up to it, that whole year is brilliant. And then
except WrestleMania.
Trip to the finish line.
It's the only weak spot in that whole year. Well, Survivor Series is always kind of duddish up until like very recently. But yeah, I mean, I'm putting that in there for the reason you said. WrestleMania should have a one-on-one main event, unless it's part of a story where it's a triple threat, because that can happen as well and can be great. But there was no reason for this. This was silly. It's fair enough. If you wanted to have Triple H and The Rock, have Triple H and The Rock. If you want, but really, the main event should have been Triple H and Mick Foley in some gimmick match, and that should have been his final match. He probably should have won genuinely. In some way, but The Rock helped him.
I think he should have won at the Royal Rumble, and then build that like a real heartbreaking defeat then at WrestleMania for his
Oh,
retirement.
yeah. That's actually pretty good as well. That would have been cool. But yeah, so it has to go there. Again, it's not on a lot of lists because I think it's been 23 years since it happened, so it might be out of the mind of a lot of people. But yeah, go back and watch WrestleMania 2000. It's not a show that, except for the moments that it is, has that, those 3 matches are unbelievable. Everything else, absolute terrible. So yeah, that's my last worst. Go on, go with your one.
No, that was my worst out. We crossed paths there with Hogan at Mania 9, so that was my 3 worst.
Okay. So I'll start off with best.
Yes, because we are still the podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling.
Yeah, we just call it like we say it, I have to say a unique moment, but a moment that's still great because it's so unlike WrestleMania. The making of Edge by Mick Foley in 2006. That match,
great call,
made Edge. It made him legitimately. I know he's been through like the TLC and stuff, but this was a different side. This match was just unbelievable. It's so good, and it really made Edge a top guy, in my opinion.
Great call.
Thank
and
you.
then and 2 seconds after we say, yeah, Foley should have retired at WrestleMania 2000.
Well, he was retired technically. He was retired, but it didn't matter.
But yeah, that's a fantastic call. Great match.
Go, you go.
So yeah, get the real obvious one out of the way. Bret Austin, WrestleMania 12.
Yeah. Really good call.
Not only so it's so layered. So it's not only a great match, like just as a wrestling match, it's phenomenal. But Bret did so much here that kicked off the next decade of wrestling. So this was the making of Austin.
Mm.
You had the famous double turn. Obviously Austin was coming up. It's a bit like The Rock is in the era of WrestleMania 15. He's a bad guy, but people are desperate to cheer him. This was Austin was way over, but he was still technically a heel. So Bret kicked off Austin's big run here. He kicked off basically what would become the Attitude Era here. He went against what McMahon, the rules of WWE were at the time. You weren't allowed to blade. And he said to Austin that, look, this is a hell of a moment. And like, if we get a bit of color in this, it'll look amazing. So he secretly bladed Austin during the match. And WWE went on to use that. That footage of Austin in the sharpshooter screaming with blood running down his face?
Oh, yeah.
Should have been on to use that clip for the next 20 years.
And it was a shirt.
And it was like everything.
It was everything.
And then, of course, this went into Bret's heel turn. He was like the absolute most white meat babyface you can imagine for like a decade. And then he went even better as a heel. Like, I think Bret's heel work is like the peak of his career. Just everything about this is exceptional. And I think it really highlights I think one of Bret's strongest points is that he was able to work in any environment. Like, he was putting on brilliant matches during WWE's like famously terrible New Generation period. And here he is putting on like a match of the year with Austin. And then the main event is Undertaker and Sid Vicious.
But that always happened. Like, the best match very rarely went on last at WrestleMania. And I mean, there's so many to pick from. I'm going to have to get another obvious one out of the way. The end of an era match. Shawn Michaels as the ref. Triple H and The Undertaker.
This was in a cell as well, wasn't it?
It was wonderful. It had everything. I mean, it should have been for the world title and Triple H should have won, but details, right? In my head he won. So that's all that mattered. Oh god. Yeah, I loved it, man. I go back and watch it. it's just class, you know. And if that had been Triple H's last match, it would have been perfect. Like he had, you know, it's just one of those. It's what WrestleMania is made for, and I think, you know, to date this a little bit in WrestleMania 2023, they are bringing the proper Hell in a Cell back. That's what it's for. Break it out for WrestleMania, you know.
Ridiculous to have it be an annual.
Yeah, it should just be a thing of fear, where you say Hell in a Cell and people are like, whoa, what's going on? You know, it got real. So that's my you know, while the Undertaker Shawn Michael match might be a better match, it probably is to a lot of people, this is my favorite.
Oh, that's class. Yeah, look, it was not the hugest Triple H fan, but I really enjoyed it. It was one of the, like, a lot of the times you can kind of tell when a match is coming to an end.
Yeah.
You don't really get caught on false finishes.
Yeah.
But man, what was
this
it like?
Had a, yeah.
From the, a sweet chin music into a pedigree, was it?
Yeah. Or
was it the other way around? Whatever it was, like I was like, oh, that's it. Like that kick out absolutely floored me. Like that was built brilliantly. It
was so good. It's probably tied with Shawn Michaels' match. It's the best streak match by a country mile. The storyline was okay, but if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, you know. The next one on that, just to get this out of the way, and then I'll pass it back to you. WrestleMania 17. Period.
Just the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe apart from the very end.
The end of it is, because I mean, that was, you know, unbelievable for its own. Like, put it into context, people were like, oh my god, it's one of the most shocking things they could have done. But I mean, WrestleMania 17 is the best wrestling event that's ever happened.
It's
ever.
Phenomenal.
And I mean, that's why we haven't covered that on the show. We probably will eventually. I mean, but
maybe, but it's like it's such a staple that it's been
done to death. Yeah,
covered to death. Like,
but I mean, you have to just, if you've never, and I mean, there's some people who've never seen this. I don't think Dave's ever seen this. So I mean, some people who just start watching wrestling recently have never seen this, and they should.
It's also the first time since maybe the Hogan era when WrestleMania felt like massive. Like, it wasn't just a big deal for wrestling fans; it felt like a huge deal in popular culture, in the zeitgeist. Like, this was this the start of the sort of arena era of WrestleMania?
It's technically the death of the Attitude Era and the start of the arena era. The Attitude Era died with this. This is its final swan song, which is also why it's so important, because I mean, Austin and The Rock, you know, they built the Attitude Era to what it became, so it was right that it went out that way. But I mean, even in the arena, like the choice for it, the video packages with My Way, which is just an incredible video package. But even the small matches, like the Kane Raven Big Show hardcore match, it's the most unique hardcore match you'll actually ever see, because it's like Raven trying to beat these monsters and he gets killed in it, and but he still might win. It's just bell to bell, ring to ring. It has the best Shane McMahon match and the best Vince McMahon match in a street fight with Mick Foley again. He just keeps showing up in WrestleMania moments, you know. So look, as I said, if you haven't seen this, you absolutely had to. And look, I'm pretty sure there are people watching this who have probably never seen it. I'm in a band with someone who watches wrestling and has never seen this.
Oh, so, wow, that's
right.
That's an event. Like, if they're going to watch it, you know, we should get together and have a few beers. And
that's not a bad idea. I'll float with him and see what he thinks, because
man,
we do a shot of focus on the past, but again, like, there's probably people tuning in listening on the radio or so who have never seen WrestleMania 17. It is the wrestling event to watch. It's never been beaten. It probably will never be beaten for many reasons, not just because it's filled with nostalgia. I was a kid at the time and it was the best thing ever. It's like, no, legitimately, it is the best thing ever.
If you are trying to introduce someone to wrestling, this is the show. And if
Absolutely.
they don't like this, then they're just not going to get it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very, very fair.
Yeah,
fair
because
assessment.
it has everything. It has the ridiculous hardcore. It has the silly comedy. It has the sports entertainment. It has the great matches. Like, everything's there.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. But yeah, so go on, man. What's your second one?
Okay, so following on from our kind of our Undertaker stuff, I'm going to say the Undertaker's various moments. So not the matches, not the full thing, but the Undertaker's various moments have been amazing. So WrestleMania 9, one of the worst WrestleManias, but the Undertaker's entrance, drawn out on that carriage with the huge vulture on the staff beside him. Amazing stuff. Is it WrestleMania 25? Is it when he comes out when all the hands are clawing at him from?
That's what Punk, isn't it?
Oh,
No, Punk was all the caskets.
Yeah, that I can't remember which one it was exactly.
Yeah, but the hand
comes out
it was amazing.
All these hands reaching up to drag him to hell are incredible. And then this is the controversial bit. I think the hanging of the Boss Man, terrible match, and we'll get to it. Absolute stinker. Possibly one of the worst Mania matches ever. But the Brood descending down, the way they frantically tear at the cage, dropping the noose in, and then that disturbingly realistic hanging is, I think, visually, like, put it in a video package. I think that's incredible.
Fair. No, that's fair.
So the Undertaker's moments have been, even like recent ones, like the match with Roman Reigns was dreadful. But my God, when he got in the ring and he took his gloves and his hat off and he laid them down and he walked off, oh my God, you're watching that with a lump in your throat, you know?
No, that's very fair. That's very fair. Okay. God, it's so hard. It's so hard to choose just one more because I only have one more.
I know. I have a couple here as well. I'm trying to figure out which one to.
Okay, I have to go with Austin winning his first title against Shawn Michaels.
Oh,
have to. I mean, you want to talk about the culture changing to happen. Mike Tyson being there, ripping off the DX shirt, and just we can't do it justice because we're not there. But when you go back, I think the only way you really do it is the way we've been doing WrestleMania 15, where you're watching all the shows building up to it, and you're catching.
It's not even enough to watch it on its own. Yeah. You have to.
You have to watch it.
See the build.
The build. Yeah, exactly. And I think they changed what wrestling could be to making it the biggest thing on the planet, and that's what WrestleMania can do. Look, I know AEW has its shows, TNA's had its amazing shows. WrestleMania is the only show that can change culture if it's done right. And it's happened a couple of times, like a handful of times, maybe 4 times. This was one of them. And it wasn't even because that Mania wasn't good, but this moment was, and this match was actually very good.
It was actually it's one of my favorite finishes as well, where he goes for Sweet Chin Music, he catches the legs, spins them round into the
stunner.
In fact, it's such a famous thing that's actually like a secret or maybe not a secret, a bonus animation that they put into No Mercy.
Yeah,
if you can reverse the Sweet Chin Music, you get that revert. Like, that's how big that moment on its own is. But the match, it's another brilliant pick.
Okay, to round it off, and then we'll go to break.
All right. So again, we only have the 3. So I've been grappling between.
I see what you did there.
Well, I've been grappling between Brett versus Owen, which is, I think, the wholesome, good, honest choice, and I could talk about that match for half an hour. But I think if we're talking about Mania, because Brett's career was amazing, but it wasn't actually always around for a lot of the Manias. You have to give him his due. I know we don't like it, but Hogan's big matches, man. Hogan Andre.
No.
Hogan Warrior.
No.
Hogan Rock.
No.
They're not technical classics. They're not great matches, but they are.
I mean, you're right.
Huge events.
You're right, but still
huge moments. Those crowds are insane. They're absolutely rabid. Like when Hogan slams Andre, that's like that crowd is losing their goddamn minds.
Yeah.
Same with the Hogan Warrior match. Like we likened it to the Reigns Zayn match from last month, in that the match itself was fairly basic and structured, but the crowd was so hot. Everyone was behind it. Hogan Rock at WrestleMania 19, is it?
19.
Yeah,
18.
like
18.
18 at the WrestleMania 18. I mean, look, he's a politicking gobshite. He's screwed my goddamn hero out of what should have been his passing of the torch. I mean, we all know about all the other stuff he's gotten up to outside of wrestling.
Yeah.
But you got to give the man his dues. When you're talking about WrestleMania, he is who they built it on the back of. And some of those big moments are undeniably just momentous.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Martin, I mean, I agree with you, but we are out of time.
It's a bad taste in your mouth.
It did, yeah. So, folks, if you disagree or agree with our picks, you have about a day to register your displeasure, because we will be live on Sunday. And if you're listening to this on Phoenix FM, thank you so much. Please go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com, to thewrestlingrewind.com, where you can find links to all the shows absolutely for free. Our Patreon's there as well, where there's more bonus content, and we'll be back after this short break to cover WrestleMania 15.
Keep my left.
You have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 PM to 6 PM, and then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Alright, everybody, and we're back here on the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast for people who don't hate wrestling. It's WrestleMania season, so happy WrestleMania to everybody.
It is. Are you hyped?
No. I might come around. I might come around with by the time we're live.
I think so. I think those fireworks will go off and you'll see the big sign, and I think the nostalgia will wash over you. And
I'm hoping because tomorrow I'm going to a gig and I'll come home and I'll probably be drunk enough to not.
Oh, that's perfect.
to not be worried, to not be going, oh, I hate him so much.
That's exactly how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. But
so yours sounds so much cooler. You're going to, like, are you seeing the gig or are you playing?
No, my mate's band are playing. I'm playing the 2 weeks after.
You're going to see your mate's band at a gig. You're going to have a few drinks, come home, watch WrestleMania. That sounds really cool. I'm going to go give a talk on the Civil War. And then come home and watch WrestleMania.
That's also pretty cool.
That's not rock and roll, though. It's not rock and roll, you know.
That's fair. That's fair. The point is, have a couple of drinks, and I think that's the way to watch WrestleMania. I love the fact it's over 2 nights. I know some people probably don't, but I'm like, I hated the 20 hours of WrestleMania where you're like, please stop. I can't watch anymore. And you're like, it would start at 7 and finish at 7 the next day, and you're like, why? This is so excessive. It's so excessive. So I love that 2 nights.
I don't like the 2 nights.
Man, no, come on. No, we disagree. Okay.
I agree with you about the 7-hour WrestleMania. Like, that's ridiculous. But I think what Mania should be is the absolute peak of the stories and the best of the best.
Yeah, but they don't do that. But they don't do that. They pack it full of everything, so it has to be 2 nights, or else it's 12 hours.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like I think it dilutes it somewhat. Like fair. I don't like the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 2 nights. I think you have your you have your final, you know,
Yeah.
your end of the season, your championship match, you have your final. I agree, yeah, what they've been doing is absolutely padding it out. And I mean, on one hand, it's cool, everybody gets a payday, great. But I think Mania should be special. It should be the absolute, the payoff to the stories they've been telling, cut the fluff. Like last year's Mania was one really great night and one terrible night.
Yeah.
Maybe apart from one match. And I'm worried that this year's is going to be like, there's a lot of, looking at the card over 2 nights, there's a lot of fluff on it. And what I'm looking at is, if you take all the fluff out, you'd actually have one great show there.
But they've lost the ability. They've lost the ability to do that. I mean, like even this WrestleMania we're going to talk about. So we are going back into the time machine, folks. So, this is our payoff for how many shows have we done at this point? Pretty much since we accidentally just fell into the wonderful world of Heat.
Since you randomly got us to do a Heat. We're like, oh my god, I love that. Let's just keep watching this.
That's how we show plan, folks. We just randomly, find stuff.
And we decided to be nice to ourselves after doing a bloody year-long WCW arc.
Yeah, no, we had to be kind to ourselves, folks. We had to give ourselves something good. So I've never watched. Obviously, I've never watched all this up to WrestleMania before. I mean, obviously as a kid you did, but it wasn't so consistent or concise to have it all there. Because obviously, watching wrestling here, I mean in Ireland, the way Raws and stuff were disseminated, and you wouldn't see all of it. You'd see bits and pieces, and then the pay-per-views. That's normal. I don't know, that was my experience. I don't know how your experience was, and obviously getting tapes and stuff like that as well.
Mine was even worse. I was out in rural Ireland, and if I had £1 for every time I heard the joke when I go to my dad, can we get Sky TV? And he'd walk me to the window and go, there's the Sky.
Oh no.
So my wrestling, it actually took years and years for me to get to watch wrestling properly, like in consecutive order, because the way I watched wrestling for years was I would cycle out to the library in Crossmaglen, and they would have VHSs, and it might be SummerSlam 88 or it might be Survivor Series 94. So I was just watching random bits and pieces. I think the most heartbreaking moment for me was a friend of mine came up to me one day in school and was like, oh, I have a Bret Hart DVD. I said, oh my God, that's class. So this was early days DVDs. I was like, that's brilliant. Yeah, can I get the end of it? And he gave it to me. Now, I thought it was either a wrestling, like a compilation DVD, or maybe just a pay-per-view he was on. But it turned out what he had was Wrestling with Shadows.
Oh, no.
I didn't know that Montreal had happened. I didn't know that he wasn't even in the WWF any longer. Because like I say, my wrestling was being watched just hodgepodge, whatever pay-per-views I could get my hands on.
It's kind of like the early days when I started watching TNA on the wrestling channel, where you get random episodes of Impact.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what it's like.
My God, I sat down and what is this Wrestling with Shadows? What the hell? I swear to God, my heart broke, man. I couldn't. Do you know I can't even watch that now.
That's fair.
But yeah, so that's the way I watched wrestling early on. So the same as you, I'd seen obviously clips, bits and pieces, but this has been I've really enjoyed this consecutive proper watching the build up to the show.
I'm the same. It's made it feel like you can appreciate a lot of it. And I know we've kind of touched on the Brawl for All when we did a special on it. That was fun too, because how often do you do that? You don't. So, I mean, we're not going to talk about that on the show because we've done like an hour and a half. So if you missed that, it's up on the feed. And that's with James Tuprenny as well. So check that out. But I mean,
good old James. Nice to get him on the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he appreciated that we brought him on for complete schlock, but I don't know. It was fun. We tried to everyone have a good time here, But look, the main push here is, if you've listened through the shows, this is the biggest WrestleMania of all time. They say it several times, and it's kind of true. It does kind of build up to a crescendo, which is Austin and The Rock meeting for the belt, finally getting over Vince McMahon and all that kind of stuff. And the story is weaved through, and there are other payoffs to things like The Undertaker and his feud with Vince and stuff like that as well. Yeah. So let's start off. Of course, this is March 28th, 1999, from Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, the First Union Center. And the tagline is "The Raging Climax."
Do you think when they do this stuff, do you think they know?
Oh, they had to. They had to. Like, there's no way they were like.
And the best part is this is all in the middle of the time period during Vince's various sexual assault allegations.
So the show opens up with a phenomenal video package. It's, proper gravitas of what WrestleMania actually is. Then it goes. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's what WrestleMania should be. In fact,
so this kind of tricked me because, like, I saw this Mania when I was younger. Obviously, I loved it when I was younger because any wrestling I could get my hands on. But it's kind of well known as one of the worst Manias.
Yeah.
But it kicks off with, oh my God, the Fink.
Yeah.
Howard Finkel welcoming you to WrestleMania. I was like, instantly, I'm into this.
Yeah.
And then that incredible video package from Classy Freddie Blassie, and I'm like, oh my God, what are people talking about? This is amazing. This is a brilliant WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified, because I realized I was like, I'm not talking about the Boys to Men singing America the Beautiful. I was like, that's not what I'm talking about. But that video package, I mean, that's what WrestleMania doesn't have anymore. And obviously they could have someone else in there, but it just makes it feel like, whoa, we're watching something very important here. And you don't really get that much, because they moved away from that betrayal of WrestleMania. Which is a shame, because like it makes it feel like, whoa, this is going to be, this is not just a wrestling event. This is something way bigger.
It's strange as well that because this feels like it was big enough, that they could have put this in a major venue. There's only 20,000 people. Like it was in a venue, not an arena. But I mean, this was like, wrestling was really hot at the time. WWF in particular was really hot at the time, and this Austin Rock feud was just like absolutely.
I like it though. No, I like it though. I mean, I don't really, wrestling in a stadium sometimes is a bit silly,
bit soulless, bit empty.
Yeah. This feels like everyone is there. It is jam packed, and they're ready to go. I prefer this, to be honest with you.
I agree with you that it's, from a viewer's point of view, it's an insane atmosphere, because you've got that level of energy compacted into a small space. I'm just surprised that Everton was so big. It would be another 2 years before they'd go.
Well, they weren't publicly traded yet.
That's a good point. Yeah, didn't even think of that.
They weren't publicly traded yet, so I mean, they were just like, hey, let's just do a good show, which is what they did. It starts off with, so look, you say it's a bad WrestleMania, and it kind of is, but it also has some absolute gems. It opens up with one of them, one of the most bizarre hardcore matches of all time, a triple threat hardcore match. Hardcore Holly defeats Al Snow, Whithead, and Billy Gunn, who walks in as the champion, the most unlikely hardcore champion.
We should say he defeats him with head, the mannequin head he carries around. He didn't defeat him with head.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Although, if you have to lose a match, that's the way it.
Yes, we're talking about the mannequin match.
I'll put you over, brother, but I have some stipulations.
Oh my God. So this match is, to my knowledge, the first time the belt was defended at a WrestleMania. The first time it was defended in a triple threat match. And it's an interesting match, because like everyone in there can actually wrestle. Billy Gunn he's just about to, like, 1999 would be the beginning and end of his push, let's say, to being a superstar, and it just doesn't happen. So he begins the year really as the hardcore champion. and that's, it already starts running, off the radar. But this is mainly an Al Snow Bob Holly match, and it's a very, very good one. These lads are able to work the hardcore WWE hardcore style better than really anyone. I don't know. I really enjoy this. It's not too, hit with random object, but it has enough to keep it entertaining. There's some vicious spots in this on the outside. A lot of this match actually takes place outside. I do personally enjoy when he picks up the hockey stick because they're in the Philadelphia Flyer Stadium. I've always appreciated that. What did you think of this one though, man? I mean, look, it sets up a lot. It gets the belt off Billy Gunn, which he never should have won that belt. I genuinely believe that. And it's on a much better champion after.
I thought this was a perfect WrestleMania opener. There's two kind of schools of thought of how you open show. Do you open it with something low level, little bit of fun, warm the crowd up, or do you open it with the way sometimes now they open with a really big match to get the crowd kicked off. I think this is a perfect opener. It was a really fun match. The crowd was super hot. Like, they were ready for anything when this started, because Al Snow walks out to one of the loudest pops of the night.
Oh yeah, if you're looking at the signs as well, he has a massive coverage of signs.
Oh yeah, I think that's a mixture of people loving the gimmick and loving him, but also it's the first match of the night. Like, if any music had played, that crowd was gonna jump for it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Like you say, I really, really prefer this era, the WWF style of hardcore over the WCW style, which is very, like you say, just throw around whatever random objects, lots of punch, kick, walk to the next thing. No, this was a really good mix of wrestling with, like, you got your ludicrous weapons and stuff thrown in, and then, like you say, some really vicious spots out there, even some real simple ones. That suplex Hardcore Holly does to Al Snow on the outside.
Oh, it's vicious.
It looked like it killed both of them. Like, it was. The impact of it was so great. I was eating Doritos at the time, and I looked up, and I must have been looking down at the bag to get my hand well in there, see if there was any left. And the impact, I only caught the end of it, that he hit the ground with. I had to wind it back because I thought he must have suplexed them off the ring to outside.
It was just a snap suplex. Yeah.
It was just a vicious suplex. But yeah, great opener. 100% agree with you.
Unfortunately, this is where we start hitting the dregs. So earlier on in the night, there was a battle royale to determine the number one contenders for the WWF Tag Team Championship, which is held by Double J and Owen Hart. D'Lo Brown wins for some reason with Test. So we have D'Lo and Test come out separately, which is never a good start. I just have to call out Test's shirt where it says, "Guns don't kill people, I kill people." Oh God, Test is terrible. I don't mind. I really like Test later on. He gets Bookily status in the middle of the year.
Oh.
But at this point, he's just a jobber.
Sub Bookily.
Oh man, he is a jobber to the stars, and the star in this case is Double J. This match lasts 4 minutes. It is 4 minutes. It's a bad 4 minutes. Deborah, the most memorable thing about this is Deborah comes out wearing items, and Jerry Lawler nearly has a stroke.
He doesn't stop talking about it then for the whole...
he's in full Mark Madden mode all the way through. He's only short of making that weird noise. For people that don't know, who might be listening to this for the first time, Martin, please explain the Mark Madden mode reference.
So Mark Madden was perhaps the leariest man who ever lived, and would make just like not even like playful comments or like sort of sexually charged comments, just make really uncomfortable comments about women when they were wrestling, just stuff where if your friend said it, you'd be like, "Hey lad, what are you, calm down,"
walk it back a bit.
But he eventually just transcended all language. His leeriness transcended language. Hit its peak. I think it was it Major Guns and
Yes.
Major Guns and someone else. But during the match with Major Guns, someone gets rolled up, and there's a kind of an awkward angle during the roll up where somebody's arse is very close to somebody else's face, and Mark Madden can't even summon the words. All that you can hear over the commentary desk is, and that's it. I turned it off, went and had a shower.
Oh god, it is one of the most uncomfortable I've ever been watching WrestleMania, watching wrestling in general. And
so give it to King. He's very much like what do you call those movies from the 60s? I can't even think of the name now. Do you know the type of movie I'm on about, where the comedies would be like, the Carry On, yeah.
Carry On
so,
movies, yeah.
Yeah, so you can edit that so I don't sound like an idiot trying to remember. So Lawler is very kind of carry on comedy, whereas Mark Madden is very much a sexual predator.
The character that he played on television, not the man who writes the we have to be careful with, because so the character that he played on WCW television came off one way, not the actual man himself. I'm pretty sure.
Do you ever watch the It Crowd?
The IT Crowd?
Yeah. Do you ever watch?
Yeah.
So there's a great bit in it where Renham has to go through this HR course, and he ends up getting these trousers that electrocute him if he gets aroused in any way. It's a great line. God damn these electric sex pants. I would love to get a pair of them and put them on Lawler when he's commentating, because I think that would be hilarious.
No, and I mean it does take over the whole match. The whole match is literally in service of King just being out of control. Like, it's so bad. But the match itself is absolute garbage too. So
dreadful. So no, go on ahead.
I was going to say, it's a shame, because you have Owen Hart. Like, what a fall from grace, by the way. I did not, just from WrestleMania, like going from wrestling his brother to this, and then Double J's there, and they're not even wrestling an actual team. Like, I understand. Actually, no, I don't understand why they did it. I don't know why they did it. I was going to say, I get why. No, I don't. I mean, they brought back the Legion of Doom about 3 weeks ago. Why not bring them out? Would that not be a cool match? I think it would be. The Legion of Doom versus and winning the tag belts. Make you happy,
Look, even if you only do 4 minutes with the Legion of Doom, like, you get that entrance pop, the jackets, you'd get a moment out of it. Like, there's several either matches or moments during this whole card that make absolutely no goddamn sense to me.
So the only reason I can think to have this is because they wanted to have the PMS storyline, where they screw over D'Lo yet again.
Yeah, I mean,
and Test is just there.
Like, we've been watching that in the build up, but like, did it ever feel like people were like really into that?
No, I mean, at no point am I watching this going, oh yeah.
Here's the thing. So we kick off with Howard Finkel, brilliant. Freddie Blassie video, great stuff. A really good, like, perfect opening WrestleMania match. For the next hour, this show just feels like a pretty crappy episode of Raw.
Yeah, it just kind of dies a death. And after that, it goes into the
until we get to X-Pac and Shane. Yeah. This is really dreadful.
Yeah, and that includes obviously the Brawl for All, which we've talked about. It includes the Butterbean obviously wins. The Big Show defeats Mankind by disqualification. So the winner would be the special guest referee. So, this whole time we've been watching it, Mick Foley has been the referee, and he's been screwed at every step across the way. And then it's,
So we'll skipping over the Brawl for All then, which is dreadful, but go and listen to our episode on it.
Yeah.
Big Show versus Mick. I mean, there's just, so in terms of stuff I don't understand, this match is full of it.
Yeah. This match is just, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. It has a bump with Vince where he, attacks him. It has like Mick being killed with chairs. It's like, I can't make sense of this match at all. It just feels like a Raw angle. This should actually, this should have been done on Heat.
Cleared up well before the bloody show. Look, there's loads about this I don't understand. I don't understand why the Mankind character, like that incredible underdog hero, who was like fighting for the title at one stage, who was going toe to toe with the Undertaker at one stage. Why he's so desperate to be a referee, like, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me to use the Big Show like this. Like, I mean, like, we laugh now about the Big Show, but at the time he was a really hot commodity who they'd stolen away from WCW. Like, could have made a monster out of him, just did nothing. It makes no sense in terms of the actual booking. Like, Earl Hebner sits and watches him flail Mick Foley with a chair and does nothing. But then when he slams him onto a chair, it's a DQ. Yeah. But it's well established in wrestling that if you don't hit someone with something, if you put someone on something or throw them on something, that's not considered hitting them with it. So that's not a DQ.
Yeah.
So that just made no sense to me. And then you have Mick Foley, who built his entire career on being battered to hell and getting up and walking out. Like, he got thrown off the cell the year previous and he rolls off the stretcher and walks out. And now he's been hospitalized because he gets a choke slam. Just everything about this just left I was just sitting there going, why?
Yep. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think they were doing it obviously to, like, this is a very story heavy WrestleMania, and a story like takes precedent. And even still, man, we've talked about it. Like, even the worst match, the shortest match, the Butterbean match, right? And we use that match very loosely. It was 35 seconds, right? Most matches were like 20 seconds on Raw. So the story was important, and I think that's the difference between this WrestleMania and like a modern WrestleMania, where it's going to be a 15-minute Mac Classic or even a 15-minute terrible match, but it's still going to be.
But I'm okay. I'm okay with the storylines taking precedence on Raw, because Raw is the weekly show. This is still the pay-per-view era, so it's to build interest, to get you to buy the pay-per-view, and the pay-per-view is where you pay it off. So I don't even get that for this, because, like, fair enough, do your short matches, do your angle heavy stuff on the weekly show, but man, this is the final, this is the payoff, we had the tag match, and then Brawl for All, and then Big Show Mick, and at this point I'm like, oh, now I remember why people hate this show.
Yeah, no, it's well, again, they shouldn't have been shocked, because we've been watching the shows and why they've been good. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? These guys have never actually had a decent match, or it's so convoluted, which is what happened next, where Road Dogg comes out, massive pop, by the way.
More than he deserves.
Well, he's a former number one contender. How dare you?
You'll never let that go.
No, because it's the most unbelievable thing that's ever happened. It really is. The Road Dogg defeats Goldust with the Blue Mini and Ryan Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, and Val Venus. Now, this match, while it's not a phenomenal match, it is actually a very, very serviceable match, to be fair. It's about, 10 minutes? About 10 minutes. And, I mean, you have Val Venus, who is always a dab hand, Ken Shamrock, and Goldust. And I mean, that speaks for themselves,
Venus is definitely 100% in my Bahuli stable.
I think that's fair. I think that really is fair. Here's the thing I was shocked by, and I mean, so they build that Ryan Shamrock is this, thing to be, to be really built up on as like the most beautiful woman ever, and she is very much an item to be fought over because that is how they
incredibly desirable prize.
Yeah, that's how they portray her. They portray her as a thing, not a person with feelings. And she comes out dressed like she's going shopping for like going to Spar like and being like, hey, I'm just gonna get some milk. Do you want something? Instead of being like, you know what I mean? And I know that's a weird thing to say, but I'm like,
well, at least she was dressed like an American woman running to Spar and not a Belfast woman running to Spar, which is pajamas.
Well, I mean, fair. But the thing about it is, it's like, I was shocked by this because I was just kind of like, okay, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like Deborah comes out just randomly dressed like that, you know. She comes out. She's supposed like that's her gimmick to be the prize.
Yeah.
And you know, and again, if you're think about the advantage that Goldust would have had over Ken Shamrock if she had to come out wearing, you know, something really low cut or revealing or whatever, he would have freaked it. I mean, that could have been the gimmick, but it's just like they didn't think that through.
Him trying to like cover her up or something.
Yeah, I mean,
that would have been.
You know, I don't think they thought about this like for a long period of time. And remember, it's not a fatal 4-way match. It's a 4 corners elimination match.
Oh my god! So
it's even more convoluted.
This whole thing is right. So what happens is it's a 4-way match, but there's only 2 wrestlers allowed in at a time, and it's an elimination format. So you have to tag in and out, even though there's a singles winner. But what happens is that it's Venus and Shamrock end up like outside the ring squabbling, and both of them get counted out, which is just dumb on its own.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is like what. So if that hadn't happened, if say Val Venus had been pinned, what next?
Yeah, well,
2 guys in the ring and 1
yeah,
guy.
no. So the way this works is that's it. Like it's 2 guys in the ring and they have to tag out, and then it's a silly way to do this.
Why not just book a goddamn 4-way elimination? Like why do this convoluted?
I don't know. Look, at least the Blue Meanie got a WrestleMania appearance, which
he did. And fair play to him. I like the Blue Meanie.
He got there before RVD.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable when you think about it. He got there before Tommy Dreamer. He got there before the Hardys.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah.
I know. It's unbelievable. It genuinely is unbelievable that they had the Hardys on the show and the Blue Meanie gets a main slot WrestleMania appearance.
Do you know what?
So
I'm going to say it.
Go on.
Get Blue Meanie in the Hall of Fame.
Stop. No, you can't. No. Why?
Get him in there. There's far worse people in the Hall of Fame. This is a guy, right? He's not. I wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame on the merit of his work in WWF. I put him in the Hall of Fame on the fact that he managed to get into WWF and get on to WrestleMania. Like,
okay, I'll give you that.
That's an unlikely. There's a brilliant like documentary to be made about the Blue Meanie.
I'll give you that. Actually, I'd watch it as well.
Yeah.
But the storyline here coming out is that Goldust and like after the match, Goldust and the Blue Meanie have a fight with Ryan Shamrock. Ryan Shamrock is blamed for Goldust losing the match, and it seems like Goldust and the Blue Meanie are now a couple, and Ryan Shamrock has no couple. So assuming Ken Shamrock has won? Question mark? Because she's already because Val Venus has rejected her. So unless she goes to the Road Dogg, which would be the only one she hasn't gone to out of that.
Ken Shamrock was really angry because his sister had a consensual relationship with Val Venus and then had a consensual relationship with Goldust. So yeah, now that she's been dumped and she's single, I assume Ken Shamrock has, in this weird world, gotten what he wants.
That's what I mean. I'm like, is this what we're supposed to think from this?
Is Ken Shamrock going home going, well, look, I didn't win the battle, but I won the war.
No, I didn't win the title, but here's the real prize.
Yeah,
and
it's a real
you're like, Ken, that's your sister, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
again, the character Ken Shamrock, not the man who actually married this woman in real life. Which is
yeah, this is look. It's like you say. You said the actual wrestling pretty serviceable. You've got 3 really good wrestlers in there,
do.
and
I think you have 4 really good wrestlers. Road Dogg can put together a good match. This isn't one of them.
Yeah, you just have really
former #1 contender. Sorry, was Goldust the #1 contender? No, he wasn't. Was Val Venus the #1 contender? No, he wasn't.
Gold, like we have to be honest, Road Dogg did technically come within 3 seconds of being the world champion.
That's it. With the Rock, with the great one.
With the great one on Raw during its peak.
I mean, man, I love the fact that he didn't even know that. He was just like, oh, whoa, okay, that's the thing that happened.
Oh yeah, he tweeted it out like, oh man, I forgot about this.
So I'm just looking ahead here. So after that, there was the match with Kane and Triple H, right?
Well, just before that, there's a segment in which, so earlier in the night, the Big Show punches Vince McMahon.
Yes.
Although he starts to choke slam him, and then he stops, and then why wouldn't you just do the choke slam? But never mind. So Vince wants the Big Show arrested. So before the Kane Triple H match, the Big Show gets arrested and put in the tiniest car.
I think that was on purpose.
He's sitting
was on purpose.
He's sitting in the back with his knees up to his chest and his head at a 90-degree angle along the ceiling of the car.
This was the largest vehicle I could afford. I think we're up to 5 Simpsons references.
And we're flying.
Oh, absolutely, just hacking through them. But no, the reason why I want to skip ahead is because I'm fast forwarding through this just to make sure my notes are right. And there's a sign during the Kane Triple H match. Did you see it?
Oh, I saw a few. We're over the hour now?
Yeah, we're over the hour. We're on. Okay. Yeah. So
I saw the I toss salad.
Oh my god.
There was a few choice.
There's one specifically which I can't believe isn't blurred or removed, because I mean they remove ridiculous ones from WCW, and this one is on the hard camera, and it's what they're calling Kane the whole time. Is it on your list, or do you want me to?
No, I don't have it. Go. What is it?
You know the way it's like big red R word.
Big red retard.
And you're like, oh my god. It's on the hard camera. If you guys think I'm lying, go into 1 hour.
The hard camera. Jerry Lawler says that multiple times in the bill. Like in a couple of the Raw matches, Jerry Lawler has said that.
I just can't believe that it's not removed. It's on the hard camera side, and you just can't. It's there the whole match.
Yeah.
Someone made that sign at home and said, you know what? It's brilliant. This will age well.
I have to say, like, and I don't like to generalize. Maybe it's because WCW is more of the southern based, and maybe they're a wee bit less progressive in the southern states. But like, it wouldn't even make the top 10 of our most offensive WCW signs.
No, it wouldn't. But that's a whole other tier, man. Like, I just think it's just unhinged. They just don't care. They're like, we're just gonna do whatever you want. In WWE, it's a little bit more restrained, to be fair. I don't really know why, but that is just crazy to see it like that. It's on the network. Like, time is what it is. But the fact it's on the network and what they have censored compared to just letting this go, it's unbelievable.
The fact they've combed through this and blur out any sign that in any way is like pro WCW or anti WWF. They're going through that. Yeah, WCW's the best, blur that out. Yeah, WWF is Vince McMahon fierce ratings. Big red retard. Yeah, that's grand. That's grand. That's good.
Oh my god, it's just so, like, it just takes you back a bit. You're like, there's no way that would be allowed even near the arena nowadays. Never mind.
You'd be thrown out. Like, God, do you remember someone held up it wasn't even directly transphobic, but it was like hinting at it during a Nyla Rose match.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they got thrown out, and not only thrown out, but they got blasted on Twitter then and everything.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm amazed they haven't discovered this yet. I mean, you could have a Twitter account for years just going through this.
Yeah.
But
and the whole thing about Twitter is Twitter doesn't care if something happened 20 years ago. Twitter never lets it go.
Never.
You know, so yeah, it's astonishing. Maybe we should we set up like a fake, like really, really woke righteous indignation account and just start like railing against wrestling in the 90s.
We might have to, like, as a joke, and then see, we joke about this stuff and then it doesn't become a joke, like the Patreon.
Yeah, we should that's what we should do, and we should do this and say, look, we're going to start a campaign to get the WWE Network to go back and to edit out all these signs. And if you want to help us do that, subscribe to our Patreon, and the link will redirect them to the X-Pac Euro.
Oh my god. Oh god, that would work as well. That would actually 100% work. But it'd be hilarious. But then the thing about it is, then they'd edit the network and you'd be the most hated person ever.
Yeah,
wrestling fans. So
I'm a big proponent of something happened in an old TV show, an old movie, or old wrestling. Put a warning at the start, or say something like, "Look, this was made at a time of different attitudes, but don't edit history."
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm the same.
That's 1984.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. It's just kind of like, nothing ever comes from editing that, because the thing about it is stuff changes and opinions change, and sometimes they could, if you're doing that, you're just end up removing stuff, and it's just, put a warning up. But like, even with this, it's like, it's just so jarring, because not for what it is. Obviously, what it is just shocking to see. But the fact that on the same show they will edit a WCW sign, and you're like, why? Just leave it alone.
And it'll be the most benign. Like, so we've done this in some of the previous arcs we've done. Like, I've gone through different angles where you can kind of make out what half the sign says, and then different angles where you can kind of make out what the other half the sign says, and you can piece it together. Because they blur it out. You're like, oh my god, they blurred it out. That must say something like
really
incredibly offensive, or blah blah blah.
And it just doesn't.
Because to the left of it, there's a perfectly visible, homophobic slur. to the right of it, there's a perfectly visible ethnic slur. So they blurred out this was be terrible. And then you work it out, and it's like, Goldberg better than Austin. Yeah.
Or WCW, or Nitro's better
Nitro
than
rules.
Or something like that. And you're like, well. Okay, so two things about this match, the match itself. The match itself is actually all right. It's funny, I didn't realize Triple H actually had so much interaction with the Brothers of Destruction, because he has this match with Kane, right? And then WrestleMania 2000 happens, which is its own thing. Then a year later, he has a match with The Undertaker, which actually wasn't counted in the streak for, like, it wasn't acknowledged for years for some reason, because he had two matches with Taker after, like, a couple of years later. So it's just interesting that, like, on Triple H's ascent to the main roster, the Brothers of Destruction are, like, very much there. The match itself, it's okay. China comes out and gives Kane the stairs, and it's all very elementary at that point.
It's all very raw.
It's all very raw, yeah. I mean,
raw.
Kane does eventually get the upper hand here, but it's not a good showing from anyone, really. It's a good Raw match. Go on.
I will, in terms of it not being a good showing for anyone, I will slightly disagree there. This is Kane's early days.
Yeah.
So maybe it's before he.
Sorry, there's a sign I have to call out here as well. It says I mark for Triple H, and the guy's wearing Triple H's hat and everything. I'm like, oh man, I mark for him too. So
there was
I appreciate this guy.
There's another great sign during the previous match that just said Val Venus, enter me.
Oh god. Oh god. The worst part about that is it's like someone left the house with that sign and walked through the street. Imagine being in like a Subway or something before the show and you just have the sign.
And there's
people
like
are looking at it, and you're like,
non-wrestling fans going, is that a biblical verse or?
"Good sir, what part of the Bible can I find that in?"
I believe that's Deuteronomy.
or what are you protesting? Who is this Val Venus man? Oh god.
Yeah. So what I will say is, his early days, Kane, he is actually bumping. He takes some savage bumps into the stairs. He does a dive over the top rope. Like Kane, who normally you'd think he was a Fabergé egg, he hates to bump so much, is actually doing great. And I'm watching this go, come on, Kane, come on, Glenn, you're really putting the effort in.
You're in for a treat. You're in for a treat because Kane's work in this 2 or 3 years is actually unbelievable.
And I'm almost like, it's not a great match. It's fine, perfectly fine match, but
ends with disqualification, which is ridiculous.
Oh well, I'll get to
second
that.
of the night. Sorry,
but I'm so impressed with Kane's bumping, and then I'm like, all right, this is it. Show me that you can do it. Triple H gets him up for the pedigree. I'm like, come on, Kane. Like I've been so pleased with this whole match. Show me what you can do it. No, he puts the knee down for the pedigree. It's like, you were so close. He takes the worst pedigree.
He does, yeah. But I would argue worse than the pedigree is the quote unquote payoff. China and Triple H are a couple again for some reason, and Kane is left in the ring devastated. I just don't understand it, because it would be a couple of months now. Triple H would be kayfabe dating and married to Stephanie, and then in real life married to Stephanie or dating Stephanie. So it's like, what's the payoff here? I mean, I don't know, but I know what the payoff is. But it didn't feel like a good WrestleMania moment. It just felt like a Raw moment, or and I don't mean this as a dig, or a Heat moment, because Heat was a pretty big show at this point. It didn't feel like a big pay-per-view.
Heat, bloody look, a lot of these stories have been built on Heat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, apart from the Heat, literally, basically the WrestleMania pre-show, and I know you reviewed it for us the other week very briefly, just because it's just a battle royale,
literally.
But apart from that one, like, Heat has been fully a part of all the big angles, all the
major angles,
top stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually mad when SmackDown comes along just how far Heat falls.
Oh, it falls off a cliff, like, completely. It's like it goes from being a much watched show to a show that they're like, oh yeah, we have to do this. All right, bye. So look, the next match is dire. It's so bad. It's so bad I don't even want to talk about it, to be honest. Unless you have something like Sable defeats Tori in one of the worst matches I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever.
Lawler would have been killed if he'd been wearing the electric sex pants.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it any better. The actual whole, and then it ends with this weird person who I've never seen. Like, I remember as a kid being like,
there's a moment here. I'm just going to let you talk. I'm not going to interrupt you.
Go on.
But I just want to see. No, I'm not going to say what it is till the end. I just want to see if you picked up on it as well. So you go ahead with what you were going to do.
So there's this person that shows up, and I don't know who it is. I still don't know who it is.
Was it Nicole Blass? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know who that person is, and I don't know what they were trying to do. I don't know what the story was. Sable is atrocious. Poor Tori, who actually is quite good, is trying to work her to a match and is basically wrestling a sack of potatoes. And then and then this woman comes out, and nothing happens. Well, grabs Tori by the hair, basically costs her the match.
She actually gives a pretty impressive body press.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And then I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to imply, or like, it just feels weird. Even 23 years later, 24 years later, it still feels just bizarre. So we might get answers on Raw. Like, what do you think about this whole thing?
So there's a couple of things. So Nicole Blast, the woman who came out, I don't know what happened to her in the future because
either do I.
I don't like to look ahead. Like I'm genuinely enjoying Raw, so I just want to watch it as it happens. But she was quite famous as a female bodybuilder, but also she was a regular guest on the Howard Stern show.
Oh,
so possibly like she was maybe well known at the time.
Oh, that makes sense.
So she would come on because she does look not traditionally feminine, is how we'll put it.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
She would come on the Howard because she's like a bodybuilder, and she would come on the Howard Stern show, and apparently she would like strip, and she had like a porn career, and
she was. And okay, here's another thing that could happen, right? I don't disagree with you, but I'm just out there looking up now. So tragically, she did die in 2017 at 52, which is, damn, that's young. This is in Philadelphia. She was in ECW.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
So, but what's weird about it is, and I don't think because she apparently she gets sexually harassed in WWE
by the Brooklyn Brawler. She looks like she could rip the Brooklyn Brawler in half.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't mess with her, but
yeah, I mean, not that makes it okay, but
no, it doesn't. Not
very
at all.
Strange.
Well, it's strange, yeah. Of all the people, like the Brooklyn Brawler, allegedly, of course, it was thrown out of court in 2005 and 2003. But
yeah,
I don't know what they're trying to imply, because now that I know some context that it's an ECW thing, but then again, WWE don't really care, but do care about ECW. Maybe that's what it was.
I would imagine
it's very weird. It's so weird.
The ECW thing would be she'd be known to the real hardcore wrestling fans, but I would imagine the main thing is her role in the Howard Stern show. I'd say that's why they brought her in, because not only is she famous outside of wrestling, which they love, but she's famous for kind of risque reasons, which like we're buried into the Attitude Era here, so they love anything. In terms of this match, I had a couple of notes. Tori's outfit is wild. I honestly,
she's like Gozer. Yeah. She's like Gozer from Ghostbusters.
So I didn't even think of Gozer, but now that you've said that, I can't get that out of my head. When she first came out, I was like, "That is either
Keymaker."
That is either, when she came out, I was thinking that is either a Thundercats reference, or she arrived with no gear, and all they could find was Giant Gonzalez's old costume, and they stuck that on her because it looks like a version of Giant Gonzalez costume. I kept a note during the night, and I call it my "Shut Up Cole" list. So several times during the night, Michael Cole said things that made me, sitting in my sitting room on my own watching this, verbally out loud say, "Shut up, Cole. Just shut up."
Just in case he heard you.
So at one stage,
from the future.
At one stage during the match, Sable and Tori are wrestling outside, and Cole says, and Sable, of course, has turned into an incredible in-ring wrestler. "Shut up, Cole. Shut up." You
that's
prick.
Outright lies, like just lies.
One thing I did notice was that he says wrestler, and earlier in the night they say hospital. So this is obviously before Vince went fully nuts. But the big thing that I'm surprised you didn't pick up on was whenever Nicole Blast comes out, she lifts up Tori over her head, does a genuinely impressive body press, and then walks out. And some guy in the front row, go back and watch it, says it so loud. He must have screamed it because the camera picks it up, and the camera is like an up close shot of Nicole Blast's face at the time. And all you can hear some guy in the crowd going, "Show us your penis."
What?
And you can hear it. He says it's so loud the camera picks it up.
Oh
It's amazing.
Oh wow. Oh, the attitude era was something else. It really was. It really was.
I mean, yeah, in terms of this match, it was terrible. It was botchy as hell. It was awkward. It was clunky. But the worst thing about it is they were so awkward and they had no chemistry that they were so obviously cooperating.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it looked like, and I'm not saying this as a dig because it's not trying to be. It looks like two women, two men, or whatever, who don't know how to wrestle, but they're just learning how to do it.
Oh, this would,
and they're literally in the ring for the first time ever, and that's what it looked like. They have just enough to know kind of the bare bones of it. But even the way, and again, Tori is actually pretty good. Even the way Tori hits the ropes, you're like, what are you doing? Like,
this would get you thrown out of any half decent indie company in the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this never should have went on television. Never mind WrestleMania. It was
not even any half decent. This is backyard level.
Oh no, I mean backyard. At least there's some kind of character. I mean, Sable's just, that's it, all right.
God, I love when we get past the waters.
So the show
us your penis.
So the show picks up, and it actually really starts cooking now near the end. These three matches, this is the WrestleMania story, right? Genuinely. It has a really good promo with all of DX. Billy Gunn looks pretty happy for someone just lost his belt. I'd be raging. I'd be like, he took my belt. Road Dogg is sitting there and he's having a good time. What's weird about it is Triple H cuts most of this promo for X-Pac. X-Pac he's just like, oh, I'm gonna kill him. And Triple H is there. And again, like Triple H also just lost. So it's like, lads, you didn't have a good night. You had a pretty terrible night. You're
0 for 1 at the moment.
Yeah, like it's not a good showing.
Well, I suppose Road Dogg won his.
Okay, Road Dogg won, but still. So after that, Shane comes out with Test again. Also, somebody who should be more upset than he is because he also lost a title opportunity in an embarrassment. The Main Street Posse are there. The four of them. This would shrink down to 3 eventually.
They are fantastic.
They are the best, and they've been there all night.
I know we did
the Main
this.
Street Posse into
goddamn right, yes.
The best.
I know we went over this last week, but I just have to say again, how Shane McMahon, in the multiple times he came back to wrestling, how he never reintroduced the Main Street Posse. Like, those guys are gold.
Oh, they're the best. They're
even hilarious when they're not doing it. And so I found myself laughing at them. So the way they're sat in the front row.
Yeah.
I found myself laughing.
The sweater vests. It's the sweater vest.
They weren't even doing anything. You could just see them from behind, and I was laughing at them.
They just look like such dorks. Like they really are the dorkiest guys ever.
And they act like Greenwich is. It's like the hood.
It would have been good actually, rebooking an angle from 14 years ago. So no way DX were feuding against the Spirit Squad.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just make them the Main Street Posse?
Oh.
Wouldn't have that been better? That would have been so much better. Imagine they could have done the exact same thing, but have it with the Main Street Posse. Like even the lads in the Spirit Squads just called them the Main Street Posse and get their hair done that way.
I was literally about to say that. If you put them in the clothes with the hairdos and with the gimmick, like nobody remembers who the specific gays were, but they love the gimmick. Like nobody would have been able to tell the difference.
That's true. I mean, you could even just call them Rodney and Pete Gas.
Yeah.
And Joey Abs. I mean, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It could be anyone, but that was a missed opportunity. Genuinely a missed opportunity, I think. And I don't know why they've never come back. I mean, it's such a great, it makes this match. Because Shane...
It says everything about WWF that they were willing to recast Diesel and Razor. But they were like, no, nobody will buy the Mean Street Posse if it's not the original crew.
They're too over.
They're too over. I mean, yeah, you got a
hardcore
pop.
champion for 5 minutes.
You got a pop, but you didn't get a Mean Street Posse pop.
I have to hand it to Shane. This is like Shane's first real actual match. And it goes about 8. It's one of the longest matches on the card. It's about 9 minutes.
Apart from the opener, I was like, this was the first match that got me back into it. I was like, oh, this feels like WrestleMania.
Like they have, it's obviously, a normal match, so it's not no DQ, and there are moments in it where the ref is very loose, which is fair, it's WrestleMania. But there's already been 2 disqualifications, so it's just like, there's a bit where X-Pac picks up a belt that's beating him with the belt, and you're like, didn't you just disqualify somebody for slamming somebody onto a chair? Like, I'd be very careful here. So the internal logic of the show is, moment by moment, it seems.
But let's not forget, it was only a couple of weeks ago when someone was counted out while standing on the apron. So,
that's true. And there was a disqualification in a Kane match as well. So.
God, don't even. Yeah.
And not Kane the wrestler. I mean, the Singapore Kane.
It says so much about how enjoyable this era is that you are just willing to let all this bullshit slide.
Just slide. It's like, it's fine. It makes sense some way. It never makes sense. So I mean, like, Test is great. Test is like the buffer, because I mean, he is kind of holding this together if they get in trouble. There are bits when, and I think I don't honestly think people even backstage at the time knew Shane could go. I think they're like, look, he's not going to be able to go. There's no way he's going to be able to do it. So he's there as the insurance policy, not for Shane to win the match, but more so the match doesn't fall apart. And I have to say, he does a good job doing that. And it also gives time for Shane to recover, because there's bits where he's gassed, because I mean, wrestling, I don't have to tell you this, wrestling's hard. I mean, any kind of thing where you're going like that, it's a totally different kind of conditioning.
I've said it 100 times, man. The longest match I ever had went 10 minutes flat, and I couldn't even walk. I had to roll out of the ring and roll under it because I thought I was going to be sick. Oh,
I believe it. The only thing I can is sparring, and that's 2 minutes with a break, and those 2 minutes can feel like 10 hours.
It's intense.
It's intense. It really is. But the big shock here is the turn. So we had Triple H. We had trying to come back to Triple H, and obviously Triple H is the big hype man for X-Pac coming into this. X-Pac hasn't won. China distracts the referee, pedigrees X-Pac. Shane gets the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, man, this was, like I said, this started to feel like WrestleMania again. Fair play to Shane, puts in a hell of a turn here. I think the thing with him is, even if he's not a great wrestler, he's always willing to just go. He doesn't half-arse it,
No, absolutely. And again, like, this is not only like the end of Triple H joining the corporation, or the end of that kind of angle where he does join it and it sets up his rise to the main event. But it's the end of DX.
Exactly.
Until next year, but we don't know that at the time.
But like, he's, the other thing about Shane is he's in there with X-Pac.
Yeah.
X-Pac, even now when people are looking back and starting to realize how good he actually was, he's still massively underrated at this time. So X-Pac can have a good match with anyone. And if it hadn't have been for all the fact that we've had 2 DQs and a load of run-ins and stuff so far, this is a good angle. This is like a genuinely shocking angle, real ramifications, big deal. Like, you don't mind that this isn't the payoff to something. This is the start of something else. So, like, yeah, this is really good. I was on the absolute edge of despair, and this match, really brought me back into the show.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be there the entire time after that. I mean, Undertaker and Big Boss Man is next. But before we get to that, let this sink in. DX was the most over thing on the show. Next to Austin. Yeah. And it's gone. That was the WrestleMania moment.
Yeah. Oh, huge.
And it's lost it's lost because it's such a, But at the time, go back and watch this. Imagine, watching this and go, oh my God, it's over. Triple H has joined the corporation.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because, like, DX was this faction that was kind of outside. Like, they were already dominated by the corporation and the Ministry of Darkness, who have their own thing going on. And then, so I kind of see why, they'd want to clear that. And
set up going forward.
And Triple H would want his singles, but absolutely huge moment.
So the next two matches are The Undertaker and the Big Boss Man, Hell in a Cell. It goes about 10 minutes. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin defeats The Rock in the main event. So before we get to that, I need you to defend the Hell in a Cell for me.
I will in no way, shape or form defend the Hell in a Cell. If any match of the night can be justified to have gone, 2 minutes, it should have been this.
Yeah, it sucks because my boy's in there, my Buckley's in there, and he looks terrible.
Dread. Now,
this would be Boss Man had 2 Hell in a Cell matches in 1999. One is the Kenneth from Hell, which is a whole other story.
This wasn't even the worst.
And this wasn't even the worst. So the man is not good in a cell, which is ironic because he's supposed to be a prison guard. But
do you know and I only thought about this after watching it this time, so I've seen this before, but I only thought about this time, maybe the reason he was so bad in there was because he couldn't move, because he's obviously having to wear some sort of harness.
Oh, harness, yeah.
Underneath his gear. So
that
maybe that
makes sense.
Limited it. But there's other stuff in this that's terrible. So firstly, it's just boring. Like we're 2 or 3 minutes in and you're getting
punch kick.
Dead silence or boring chants from the crowd. And then at one stage, the Boss Man handcuffs the Undertaker to the cell, and then is like afraid to go near him. And then the Undertaker falls over, and the handcuffs break. It's just bad. I mean, the Brood coming down, like this where it kind of picks off, and the Brood comes down, and they look awesome. Going back up, they look silly as all hell. Oh my God. Edge gets caught.
Oh, it's so goofy looking.
Edge is stuck.
It's so goofy looking, and they should have cut away from that immediately, or done the Brood music, where they have the whole lights and stuff. But actually, what this is most infamous for is they secure the Boss Man, put a noose around his head, and then they raise the Hell in a Cell and they hang him. And I have been on a movie set before. I've been on many movie sets actually, but I was on one for a show called The Frankenstein Chronicles, which has a hanging scene in it. And you know how they hang people in the movie?
How?
They actually get stunt doubles on and hang them.
What?
Sorry. Yeah, that's how they do it. They're obviously
people with really strong necks or something.
Well, they obviously fit them with the thing. They don't drop them, but they still have them. Like they'll do the drop and then they'll just have them hanging there. So it's pretty dark when you see it hanging in real life. Like it's
God.
It is like very disturbing. And this is probably the most disturbing thing you'll see on WWE television ever.
The Boss Man. So yeah, this match is terrible. But then, like obviously we've covered this on the WrestleMania moments before the show. But when the Brood descend, that is awesome.
Yeah.
The way they rapidly, like they don't even descend with like pliers or something to cut the cage.
No, they're just pulling at it. Yeah.
They tear at it and they look like animals.
Which they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be vampires. Or, well, hold on. People of a vampiric lifestyle. Gothic lifestyle.
A Gothic lifestyle.
They just go with fippers. Hang out at the central bank.
They lower the noose down, and part of what makes this amazing is the Boss Man selling.
Yeah.
So as so he's knocked out from the tombstone, but as the rope starts to lift him, he wakes up and he sees what's happening and he panics and he starts to grab at the rope and he can't get himself up. And the next thing, his feet are just
dangling
inches off the ground and he's like kicking his legs trying to touch it. It looks so disturbingly real that I think the only reason a lot of people don't like this is because in terms of tone, it doesn't fit in with what was a really crappy match.
It doesn't fit in at all. Yeah.
Had been part of a really dark, vicious angle, but I think the hanging scene, honest to God, I think it's one of the Undertaker's best moments. But again, yeah, I would and I would no way defend the match, and I have to admit it is absolutely hilarious when they bring the Brood back up and Edge gets like caught halfway. He's just dangling there with his arms off.
So from there, we have our.
Oh wait, event. Sorry. Before we go to the main event, it's my second. Shut up, Cole.
Okay.
So
I love this segment, by the way.
So the Undertaker has lynched a human being who is
on live television
in front of Michael Cole, about 15 feet away from Michael Cole. The boss man is there kicking his legs as his last breath leaves his body. And Cole goes, "Could this be symbolic?"
Oh
Shut
God.
Up, Cole. Shut up.
Symbolic of what? Murder?
Prick. You symbolics. Shut up.
It's a box-like structure.
Yeah. Could this be symbolic? Of what? Of hanging him? No, he's literally hanging him. It's not symbolic.
Keep using that word symbolic. I don't think you know what it means.
Oh my God.
So we get to the main event, right? And here's the weird payoff that makes it out of nowhere, right? And I'm glad it happened, but I'm also like, okay, so Cole leaves. Jim Ross comes out. The man who has spent the past couple of weeks randomly assaulting people, building his own commentary box. and it's just like, yeah, here he is. Like, how they didn't set this up. This just happens. There's no like Austin didn't ask for it, or there wasn't a match, or no, it just happened.
No, but it's like we've been given out about this that for the past couple of weeks, because there is a good story here if they use Dr. Death. Like do you remember Dr. Death went down to the ring with him and they told JR to leave, and then instead of like Dr. Death stepping in front of him and saying JR's going to commentate and anyone who comes near the desk I'll kill them,
yeah,
Dr. Death just kind of leads JR back down the ramp like an old fella who escaped the home.
Yeah, literally.
Mr. Jenkins back. But
I mean,
what could have happened here is, imagine if it's the main event, your man's out doing the introduction, and the next thing Dr. Death's music comes down, and he marches down, he grabs Cole by the neck, he just lifts him off the announce desk, and JR comes down and sits. At least there's a story there. That
would have been cool. Or there's some kind of match where Dr. Death is like, hey, I want JR to have his WrestleMania moment or something. And then he has a match with somebody. No, we're not going to do that. Just nonsense.
This WrestleMania is less than 3 hours. It's like 2 hours, 40 minutes. Like you could have stuck one more 3-minute match on that. Like have Dr. Death come out and bloody, like Michael Cole's allowed to choose anybody from the roster.
Yeah.
And Dr. Death comes out and just crushes them, And it would have actually helped rehabilitate him.
Yeah, it would have done
for all.
It would have done something.
Earlier in the night, Bart Gunn got knocked out to hell.
It could have been, let's have a match with I Want My Win Back. They do a Bart Gunn match.
Yeah. Just
something.
Anything other than the company just not letting JR commentate and then all of a sudden going, and here's JR.
It's like, what? I genuinely was like, did I miss something? And I'm like, no, we watched everything. They never mention it. They don't bring it up. It's just, here you go. You know what they could have done? And because they did something very similar. Keep everything the way it is without JR coming out, right? Shawn Michaels comes out. At the end of his promo, he's like, and you know what, Vince? JR's commentating.
Bang.
There you go. That's how you fix it.
Brilliant.
That's how you fix it. Right there and then. Like,
but literally, it doesn't even matter what the suggestion. That's a good suggestion, but it doesn't even matter what the suggestion is. Anything other than, and here's JR.
Anything other than nothing.
Yeah.
Which is what we got. I mean,
and
look,
it's so weird for this era when everything was a goddamn angle. Everything was a storyline.
Don't get me wrong. I'm so much happier he was commentating it. The match would have lost a lot if you had Cole going, oh, that's a box-like structure. Is it symbolic? And other nonsense, which he has ruined so many good matches by just being...
There's Austin holding the title. Is that symbolic? Shut up, Cole. Shut up.
So Vince comes out and he's ready to go. You know, he looks like he's ready to wrestle. HBK comes out, cuts a promo. It's weird because HBK is, you know, this is when nobody liked HBK, not even people in the company because of reasons. So he hasn't been born again yet or come back and decided he wants to work. So he's the commissioner, which we haven't actually really talked about. He's only showed up every now and then. And he just cuts this really nonsensical long promo. And this feels very much like a Raw angle. This also should have been on Heat, the way it was used. So basically...
Yeah, I mean...
I think the premise
I think it was a good way of getting a big name like Shawn Michaels on the show.
Yeah, for sure. But basically,
like with WrestleMania, a lot of the time you don't even really need people to wrestle. You just need the entrance music and the pop. You know, that's
yeah.
I agree with you.
So the basic premise of this. Also, there's two things here I want to bring up. HBK basically says, "Look, you're banned from ringside, and it's an ODQ match." Fair. There's a sign as Vince is walking away saying, "Mr. McMahon is gay." Just randomly.
I have often wondered about his relationship with Shawn Michaels.
It's a perfect framing because it's him and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
So it's just like, is that done on
Michaels
purpose?
was doing some horrendous stuff in the mid-90s that he kept getting away with, that anyone else would have been fired 100 times over for. And I was wondering, what does he have over McMahon?
Here's a legitimate question I have, right, based on the signs, because there's loads of signs saying, you know, I'm a bellhop at the SmackDown Hotel, Rudy Poo, I'm a Rudy Poo candy ass thing.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, I don't understand.
A Rudy Poo candy ass?
No, I don't understand why you'd call yourself that in a sign. I mean,
I think it's probably reflective of what we've been saying for a few weeks, is that The Rock is a heel, but this crowd is desperate to cheer him.
Okay.
He's not as over as Austin. Like, when The Rock comes out, so The Rock comes out and he's a heel, but half that crowd still pops for him. Like,
and there's also some terrible You know what we're going to have in the book? We're going to have like a section for terrible drawings. There's some of the worst drawings I've ever seen of anyone, and it's always The Rock. So we're gonna have.
It's always The Rock. Yeah.
It's always The Rock. Yeah, it's never anyone else. It's just The Rock, and they're the worst drawings I've ever seen, like ever.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
like, you don't know what they're talking about. They're everywhere, and they're terrible.
But like, why do we as wrestling fans say half the stuff we do? I don't know. Why do people walk around with t-shirts saying "Scissor me, daddy ass"? Like,
oh god, yeah, that's a fair point.
You know,
that's a fair point.
It's just, we love this weird thing, and we don't care who knows that we love this weird thing.
That's fair.
Sorry, one guy at the quiz last night went to the effort of dressing up, made a whole really convincing costume, and it was so strange because as soon as he came in the door, I immediately recognized who he was.
Who was he? Or
who he was dressed as. But it was just so strange that he was sat at home and he said, right, wrestling quiz tonight, I'm going to dress up. I'm not going to be the Macho Man, not going to be Hulk Hogan, not going to be the Ultimate Warrior. Right to censor Bull Buchanan. That's who I am.
Oh my god, that's so bizarre.
And it was so convincing. It was like, as soon as he walked in, I was like, there's a dude dressed as Bull Buchanan.
Wow, fair play. Points for effort. Deep cut as well. Was he on the winning team? Had to be.
No, but he got a prize for best costume.
Oh, fair. That's fair. So Austin comes out wearing a t-shirt. which is weird. The Rock comes out looking like $1,000,000, genuinely. Austin comes out in a t-shirt.
I looked that up. Do you know what the
No.
genuine...
I really want to know though. I want you to tell me why, because I genuinely I was very annoyed.
It's boring. There's no big story. He forgot his jacket.
Stop. Is that what it is?
Packed his bags, went to WrestleMania, forgot to pack his jacket.
But
So
wearing the tee, it just looks like he's like, got
to the show and was backstage and was just like,
they don't have a spare one for him.
Stick on one of the t-shirts.
How did you not have, like, the t-shirt is class. It's like one of his coolest t-shirts, but at the same time, it's like, this is WrestleMania. It looks like you're like, oh, fine, I'll go do this and come back.
But
that's
you know
what it looks like.
Like, if you've forgotten your jacket, fair enough. Just go out in your trunks. Like, just go out like you're just ready to fight. Like, you don't even have time to take your jacket off. You're just ready to fight. You know, like,
I don't know. It's just
it's odd.
It's very odd. It's like, it's the most that would never happen nowadays because WrestleMania is planned to a T and they probably have all that stuff there. Weird part of this match. So a couple of minutes in, they go into the crowd and the crowd just mauls them, right? And then there's a random Wheaties box. I thought that was fun with Austin on it. So I mean, someone brought, like, you couldn't even get that into an arena. Now, there's some bald lad there holding a box of Wheaties. And he is just having the best time ever with that box of Wheaties. It isn't open yet either, so he's just holding it. It's like, what's the point? Like, it's a little snack.
So this was 1999. Was this before the Yanks started shooting up every school and public building? And like, could you walk into an arena with a cereal box and security would just go, "Oh, she gave it a cereal box"?
No, okay, here's a story. Here's a true story. I went to go see Game of Thrones, the music. I won like a competition or whatever. And I had some cereal with me from the office at the time. And they wouldn't let me in with the cereal. I was like, I'm not going to eat it. This is for tomorrow. And they're like, no, you can't bring cereal in. So I'm like...
You were like... I don't have milk and a bowl.
This is for tomorrow. I'm not going to eat it in the. I'm not going to eat it dry like an animal. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I'm amazed he got it through. Genuinely. We don't even have metal detectors in Ireland at arenas, like a normal place. But yeah, so that I just thought that was weird. The match itself, look, I'm glad it's no DQ. It adds a lot to it. It adds a lot of very memorable moments. It's not just a boring kick punch match. It's kind of a brawl, and you can tell that Austin really hates The Rock, and he wants to make him suffer for everything he's gone through. It tells a great story.
There's a real like, even though it seems simplistic, there's actually a real art to a brawl to make a really good brawl.
Exactly.
This is brilliant. Yeah,
it's not overly done either. It's not overly exaggerated. Like, it's like, no, I'm gonna slow this down to the point that you're gonna be punished. Not with, like, and that's, we talked about this before, where hardcore matches kind of suffer, where it's like, oh, I want to hit you with this and this and then this and then this and then this, and it just looks silly. And sometimes that can be fun too. Actually, it sometimes is. But with this, it's like, no, I'm gonna hit you with this. I'm gonna punch you really hard. I'm gonna throw you in here. I'm gonna slam you onto the concrete and then choke you with a cable.
Yeah, there's a couple of
really good spots,
moments in this that actually look more vicious than any kind of, big ladder spot or table spot or anything. So The Rock throws Austin over his shoulder. They're wrestling in the entranceway, and Austin comes down really awkwardly across the lighting rig of the entranceway, where they have the moving lights and all that.
Yeah,
it comes down really awkwardly across that, and that looks really, like, groundedly vicious.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where, in wrestling, like, low blows, like, you whip the arm up so, like, you're not actually getting anyone square in the balls.
But they're also, I imagine, wearing a cup.
Yeah, or even if they're not.
I mean, like, the weird thing about low blows is I don't know how they work. I'm like, are you not wearing a groin guard?
Well, there's an art to it, so.
No, I mean, I get the art to it, but I'm like, There's no way they're not wearing a cup.
I mean, a lot of the times they aren't. So
That's silly. That's silly. That's silly. I mean, I'm sorry.
When we learn to do them, what you do is for a kick, what you're actually aiming for is, I believe the medical term is the gooch. So your toe makes connection with their arse, not their genitals. Same with the low blow, like when you go whoomp, you don't put your fist in, you put your arm in. And you ever see people where they're like, if someone's laying on the ground and they have their two legs, they'll stamp the stomach or they'll stamp the inner leg or something. Yeah. There is a moment in this where The Rock's just laying on the ground. Austin's not even holding his legs. No. The Rock is just laying on the ground and Austin is up. And Austin fully just stamps on his dick. Like he's not hating it. It's not a clever trick of the angle. He just stamps on his dick.
You know what? I'll say this now. I mean, yeah, groin guards are not fun. Training with them is not fun, but you reverse corner kick someone into the groin and they're not wearing a cup. It's not going to be fun.
Oh yeah, man. Like,
wear a cup.
Even with so obviously we had to wear a cup for the MMA stuff. And man, even with a cup, you get a direct kick in there. The way it digs in around everything, even that's really painful.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just, but that makes a lot of sense. I never understood how a low blow worked to such an extent. It's like, why are you wearing a cup? They're not expensive. Sorry, but again, it's suspension of disbelief. Thanks for explaining that, man, because I genuinely didn't know. There's a really there's some more psychology from The Rock as well, right? And I think that's what gets lost with these matches sometimes is wrestling psychology. So The Rock, we've seen him disparage his opponents by picking up the commentary set and being like, "Oh," he doesn't do that in this match.
No,
he spits water on him, but he doesn't disparage him because he can't, because Austin is killing him. Like,
yeah, he doesn't Billy Gunn Austin.
No, he doesn't Billy Gunn Austin. And it's a little small thing that I only copped this time around, because obviously it's something he's done over and over and over again. He he has so little respect. Like, sorry, he's so beaten that he still has no respect for him. But he's like, no, I actually need to go. The only time he does go to the backstage area, the ringside area, is obviously for the spots with the table and that. But it's actually to get a chair.
Yeah.
Which
it's brilliantly structured. It's wonderfully carried out in terms of obviously it's a big, ridiculous, over the top brawl. The match is overbooked, but overbooked in like the best way. It suits this big, huge, bombastic main event. But at the same time, it's very vicious. It's very grounded, and in its own way, it's pretty realistic. Like, and for what it is, like it looks like a fight.
Yeah, and I think that's the way they booked it. It's like, it isn't pretty. There's actually an amazing rock bottom on Tim White, where it looks like he killed him. Yeah. And that kind of sets up the finish for Earl Harbin to come out. And
before we even get to that, do you know what I love? I love the spot where Austin throws the Rock on the announcer's table.
Yeah.
Drops the elbow on him, and the table doesn't break.
Yeah, and he
throws him back on the table and does it again. It's class.
It was amazing.
Again, it's very, rather than that being like a big ridiculous high spot, it's just really vicious. It's just like Austin is like, no,
you're going through the table.
This prick through this table.
And I would have rathered Earl Hebner get the win, because I think the match, as you said, the last couple of minutes overbooks it to hell. Vince runs out, basically breaks up the pin, starts attacking Austin. Mick Foley runs out then and actually does become the referee, which is a silly payoff. And then they have finisher trading with the people's elbow missing, and then Austin eventually hitting the stunner to get the win. Now, but it's
before we go any further, I want your opinion.
Go on.
The Rock's selling of the stunner. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it too much? Is it? What do you think?
This isn't the most egregious version of it. And I'll say, and I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I wish it was a bit less, but I mean, that's just how he sells the stunner. So it's not like he's overselling. That's just how he sells it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm kind of with you here in that the ending of this match is ridiculously overbooked. The Rock's selling of the stunner is ridiculously over the top because you can see him pushing himself with his hands. But for whatever reason, it's the main event of WrestleMania. It's a big, ridiculous show. The Rock's a big, ridiculous character. It kind of works. Like,
yeah.
I'm okay with it, you know.
See, I would have a problem with it if he, just did this for the first time. This is just how he sells the stunner.
Yeah.
So I'm actually okay. So in universe, when he gets hit with a stunner, that's what he does. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like, oh, he's just selling. Also, there's I have to shout out, when Austin does win, there's a massive sign. The biggest sign I've ever seen for a place called the Shamrock Inn.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to talk about that.
Keeping
this
it
sign
to the
is
end.
To the end. So I don't know where he had that sign, but it's the biggest fucking sign I've ever seen. And it's huge. It consumes up like most of the front row. So fair play to him.
Imagine how pissed you'd be if you got yourself. I was like, oh, I got tickets to WrestleMania and I'm in like the fourth row. It's amazing. And you get to the climax of it, the big thing. Austin has won the title and now he's in the ring drinking his Steve Weisers and the crowd's going nuts. And this guy unveils this 15-foot advertisement for his pub. And he must have blocked the view of, like,
he did. No, that's why I was like, okay, this is hilarious.
Must have been like 20 people behind him, couldn't see.
Well, if it is the Shamrock Inn in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it is permanently closed as of the 1st of April, 2023, and it's not an April Fool's joke. I just looked it up. I'm looking at it right now. So, sir, I hope it was worth the time and effort and you blocking everybody and being a right prick.
I'm surprised it lasted that long. I'm surprised it wasn't burnt down like that night.
It's the biggest sign I've ever seen, and I think the crowd may have savaged it and pulled it down because as soon as it goes back, it's gone. So yeah, there you go. I mean, in a way, I'm glad. I'm sad that the signs. I know I am sad that the signs are gone, but in another way, I also totally get why they're gone, and that guy is the reason. And also all the ones that we call out that are awful. But
I mean, I often think like
there's a sign from some guy that says I have to poop.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And it's on the hard camera as well, and it's from a guy called Drunk Mike because he flips the sign around, and it says Drunk Mike. So
there's a guy beside him with a sign that is like, I can't make out what it says because it's like a letter. Like he's got this sign, but he's got like paragraphs in it. He's written like a letter or a short story or something.
It's his manifesto.
The signs, before he detonates his cereal box. The signs during the Attitude Era, like when you look at that crowd as a TV viewer, looks amazing.
Oh,
looks
absolutely
incredible.
Absolutely.
But I have often thought, like, if you were there live, you must just spend half the show behind the sign of whoever is in front of you.
You would go absolutely mad. Like, imagine paying all that money to see Austin, and then there's a sign for Drunk Mike.
Oh, I have to poop.
You're like, oh, it's not even clever, you know.
Fuck off to the bathroom then. I'm trying to watch.
But like, I mean, this really is of a time. It kind of gives that vibe, unlike anything else. And I mean, I would rather watch a WrestleMania like this than, you know, a clean, sterile WrestleMania where it's all. It doesn't have the same vibe. I mean, we're watching this 24 years later, and it's just still great. Like the WrestleMania wasn't great, but this final run.
Oh yeah, and even though, so like I'm constantly giving out whenever we do modern shows about how overproduced everything is now, and how it's too slick and it's almost plastic and artificial. Like I love this set. Like it's the fact that it's a physical sign. You know, the entranceway thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even though it's fairly simple and it's not a massive arena, like they could have got 20,000 people for an episode of Raw, But yeah, it just looks, it's kind of gritty, and it still has elements of wrestling to it, like an indie wrestling show. Before, like, the arenas are amazing, but they become their own, like a different kind of thing. Then they become these productions rather than wrestling shows.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good way to leave it, and that's why it's kind of like, when you're looking at WrestleMania, I think a good way to kind of break this down is the pre-arenas or pre-stadiums, and that's probably because, I mean, like, this feels much more like, it has moments of being terrible. The video package at the end, where it kind of shows all the highlights, makes it look awesome. Makes it look like one of the best WrestleManias ever. And then you're watching,
you're looking at that, going, you're hyped for Boys to Men. Looking at that,
yeah, you're like, oh man, But look, overall, if you haven't seen WrestleMania 15, one, fair play for sitting us, talking about it.
Good 2 hours.
Yeah, fair play. But it I think it's important. I think it's important to watch. I think it's one of those manias that, as you said, and we've said throughout this whole run, it's been it's a moment, WrestleMania. It's for video packages. It's so you can, they can put it into the catalog of Austin versus McMahon. And look, it's a fun show. It has moments, some better than others. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, look, it's not a great show. As you say, it has some moments. It's definitely worth watching for the main event. It's worth watching for the hanging of the boss man, even just so you can decide whether, which side you end up on, whether you think it's terrible or whether you think it's actually like a really harrowing but brilliant Undertaker moment. I mean, even the stuff in it that's kind of fun, X-Pac versus Shane and the Hardcore 3-Way, good matches, fun matches. I don't know that they're necessarily worth going back to watch, but if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a wrestling like completionist, yeah, I'd say, do you know what? A lot of what's terrible on it is hilariously terrible, so it's worth watching for that alone.
That's fair. Well, folks, I want to thank you for our extended show. Of course, we had to go to the time machine, finish this off. We'll be back on Sunday. I'm going to try to get this posted as soon as possible, and then send out the signal flares for Sunday. And we'll be back here on the Wrestling Rewind to preview WrestleMania Night 2, review WrestleMania Night 1. Martin, is there anything you want to plug before we finish up?
No, no, it's Mania season. We got a big weekend of wrestling. It's currently 2:20 in the AM.
Yes.
And whenever this is over, I'm going to go into the sitting room and watch Ring of Honor Supercard.
Enjoy, man, enjoy. But thank you so much for everyone who listened in. We'll be back on Sunday. If this is your first time checking us out, go over to Nerd to Know Media or thewrestlingrewind.com and spread the word of the show, because that would help a great deal. We will talk to you on Sunday here on The Wrestling Rewind. Bye, guys.
Show us your penis.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.